It's the biggest.
All right, welcome to the biggest podcast. I go by the name of Miguel Rockwell. As per usual, I got my right-hand man on the right-hand side, the Hawkins Bird, a.k.a. Joe Hawkins.
What's up, Miguel?
How you living, bro?
Large.
Good.
Per usual.
This is our first episode of the new year.
Yeah.
We're
Caca, indeed.
We're welcome to 2020.
Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's just a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
I gotta make the pun early.
Is
Get
that
it
what we're
in
starting? We're starting it off like that?
there. Yeah, I mean everybody else is gonna do it. Why not we do our own version?
Okay.
I didn't say like everything is 2020. I didn't do it corny like that.
Not
I
quite
just
that
I
corny.
threw it in subtle.
Okay. We'll let it go.
Okay.
All right. We're joined by some guests today. We've been actually on a weekend long bender with these guys. We were on their podcast yesterday.
Which is
evening.
out and
Which is
about
out now,
because these
yeah.
guys they turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they turn it on, turn it around, put it out. They're efficient, is what
It's
I'm
like
saying.
next day mail.
He was asleep.
Yeah.
When all that sausage was being made, he was.
Shh, we don't want to tell them how the sausage is made.
All right. Well, we want to welcome Ray and Jay from the He Said podcast.
What's up?
Yes, thank
How's it going?
you
How's it going?
so much for having us.
Yeah, I
so
feel
good to
like-
see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through withdrawal tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if you realize that. I might check into rehab.
Yep. Okay. You could just call
In all
us. Or
serious,
text.
which would be
Send a
work.
text.
Yeah. DM, whatever
Yeah.
works.
We could start a group chat.
Yeah.
We probably should have already had that by now.
Yeah, we should have a group chat.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Okay. So, we talked about lots of good stuff yesterday on your guys' podcast, and it was a different format from our type of podcast. You guys do way more work, at least research, and put some effort into producing your show. We do all our effort, but it's just on the back end. So.
Yeah. Well, and we rely heavily on the guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no,
Listen,
you know.
Yeah, for
Work
sure.
is work.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a
As
different
long
format.
as the end product looks great, doesn't matter how the
or,
sausage
or
is
sounds
made.
great.
Yeah, exactly. Even better.
Either way.
For sure.
Same
So-
shit.
So, how long have you guys been doing your podcast now?
It's been about 18 months.
Okay.
About 18 months from when. So it's always difficult for me to say how long we've been doing it because we actually did 10 weeks of 10 sneak peek weeks where
Okay.
we sent 10 episodes to our friends and family
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get our footing and know like who we are and
Right.
what we want to do. And by the way, this is Jay Ray. And I sound similar on wax, if you will. So want to make sure everyone knows. But yeah, like we did 10 weeks where we just wanted to know like we loved this idea, but can we actually deliver? So I always get hung up on when we started, but it was about 18 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that we actually like went live with that
Yeah.
first episode,
Right.
which is interesting too because I always forget that even happened, like the 10-week sneak peek. But when we decided that we wanted to do it, we wanted to make sure that we were doing it the right way and that, okay, great, we think we're funny, and people say that we're funny, just like the rapport and the, banter that we have with each other. But it's a little bit different in the real world as opposed to like doing an actual pod.
For sure.
And that was so valuable. We got a lot of really good feedback during that 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, we definitely could do this. And then now
Here
we're
we
here.
are.
Yeah. We did a similar thing. We didn't quite do it as precise or as hard as well as you guys. We just recorded ourselves talking.
Nice.
And then listened back to it and we were like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't laugh so much at each other. Like, it's
Right.
cool to be funny, but like maybe not just like record yourself giggling for an
Laugh
hour.
like that.
That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, there are moments.
And even now, I'll notice that I laugh a lot just because, not to give him a bigger head than he already has, but
Bitch.
Jay is pretty funny. So I find myself laughing at him a lot.
It's because I don't have when the mic's in front of me,
And the liquor's in your system.
I show up and I show out, and sometimes I don't have a filter.
Oh, only when the mic's in front of you.
Only. I mean, there's
totally
there's levels
subdued
to
and-
this shit.
Miguel got your number.
Yeah. Oh, apparently you're co-signing. So guest room, you'll sleep. That also is interesting because we've been together for 13 years,
Right.
and we've been married for almost 3, and that was interesting. Which we might even get to this while we talk about it. Is
Yeah.
working with your spouse. it's been interesting, but it's been a journey.
Yeah.
We're still married.
Ongoing.
We still live in the same house.
For
but
now.
Ray will be co-signing with Miguel, and he'll be sleeping in the guest room. Right.
That guest bed is so comfortable.
Yeah.
I will be okay. It's totally fine. But another thing that we did was we workshopped everything.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's much more of a planner than I am, but every now and again I'll slip into this kind of like planner mode. So we workshopped the title. We workshopped the titles of all the segments. What would you guys want to hear us talk about?
Right.
So we did all of that ahead of actually.
We did a Survey
producing
Monkey,
it.
sent it to like
Nice.
60 people.
Okay.
And like it was, how long do you want the episode? How long are the segments? What are the segments about? Would you be interested in this? What's the name? Like our name is because of the 60 people.
Wow.
It's
a great name.
Really, thank you.
Someone
So-
else suggested the name.
No, it was me.
It was your.
Well,
one
Ray
of
and
the,
I
it was a
came
list.
up. We had a
Yeah,
long
that was a
list, like 4 or 5 ideas, and he said just came up to be the number one. And so we really relied heavy on our circle of friends, creative, non-creatives, family, friends to like guide us.
Yeah.
And I think we still use them as resources today. Like, hey, we have an idea. Is this cool?
Right.
What did they think of our episode?
We've gotten really good
Yes,
feedback.
it's been good. The feedback.
I think what probably has been the most exciting to hear, and one of our listeners, and also was a guest on our show, YOLO is we would call her, and she was like, it was really cool to have 2 straight men on your show talking about shooting the shit about like pop culture,
Right.
Because all of our guests have not been straight men,
Okay.
so,
Right.
or if they've either been women of color or gay men,
Right.
gay men. So it was really just, I think, really refreshing for our listeners to hear a new perspective on.
To know that
Messy
straight
pop
guys
culture.
actually pay attention to some
Yeah.
pop culture shit too.
Yeah, that it was refreshing. I enjoyed
We
the
fucks with
episode.
Usher too.
Yeah, heavy.
No, I agree that definitely brought a different perspective to our show.
Yeah.
Because like he said, like it's usually women of color, and even like gay guys of color.
Yeah,
So
That's also
we
been
We
intentional.
probably need to branch out a little bit. Now.
but that's also been intentional as well because
Yeah, it has been.
For listeners that don't know, I'm white. This is Jay again. And Ray is black. And what I have always found with me, and also when we did this venture, is we want to make sure we support as many artists of color, women of color, because especially in some cities, Seattle being one of them, many creatives get silenced when they are
Indeed.
women or when they are of color. So how can we lift up them and make them, have a louder voice and a platform? So
It's something that we have kind of put upon ourselves too. Like it's not that we've done like a very good job of it, but just being that our podcast is super hip hop centric, like there's a lot of male voices in hip hop.
Yeah.
And so,
but you've had female
Definitely,
MCs
We
there.
have, but we've had to like consciously be like, we need
Yeah.
to get more
Right.
women on.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we've
Right.
actually, we're like, okay, who should we get on, and reaching
Yeah.
out to people
Yeah.
and trying to get more female voices and more, just diverse voices. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, that's great. And to
But we got to give the white rappers their shine too.
We do. We need to be. There needs to be equity, but we also need to call out like what happens, and then
Absolutely.
especially in areas, especially in Seattle, I have found that even like beyond artists, but also like DJs and other creatives, you see certain minorities getting the jobs,
Yeah.
and some being ignored. So whether they're people of color, also queer artists, we really like to support because that's another. Obviously, we both identify as part of the community, so it's important to support.
Well, I just want to say it's a real honor to be the first cisgender white man on the He Said, He
Cheers
Said
to that.
podcast. Thank you
Cheers
guys.
to that. To many more.
I was
Slide
about
in
to say,
our
we'll
DMs.
have to have you back.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll come back anytime. Yeah, for sure. We'll have to catch up on, do our research on the
Yeah.
what's
No,
the new
you
topic-
both came with
topics.
facts.
That
Or
was
maybe we could just do a segment. We could
your
just
preparedness was like
The
one
biggest
of the
segment.
highlights.
The biggest segment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like one of the highlights where I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm looking at the waveform and I'm like, wow, this is like the most like active waveform
Yeah.
of a guest
Oh.
ever.
Well, that's my boomy voice.
It's like, oh, okay,
There goes
this will be
Joe.
easy for me to find clips.
Yeah.
Booming all over the session again.
Yeah. Boom,
So-
boom, pow.
So let's go all the way back. We want to get your guys' story. So
Okay.
you guys are from
Well,
I'll let Ray
I
take this.
am from Philadelphia.
okay.
I'm from outside of Philadelphia, about 20 minutes.
Philadelphia adjacent.
So shout out to Delaware County. It's
Yeah.
where the white trash people live, and the white.
I wouldn't go that far, but
It is.
All right.
I
So
celebrate
Delaware
my-
County, but not the state of Delaware.
No, so where I'm from, it's literally the first exit over the Delaware line,
Okay.
about
Okay.
20 minutes from downtown. And it is a place that you don't ever need to visit. You just need to know exists.
But like,
I'll
did
take your word
you-
for it.
Do you consider yourself like from Philly when you tell? I mean, I know
He
you
tells people
told.
he's from Philly.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
say
mean.
I'm from Philly because it's like, so if someone asks, if you're in, let's say we're going to lift you up and throw you in Texas, right? You're in Texas. Where are you going to tell people you're from? Seattle. Because it's like, that's the biggest metropolitan area
sure.
that people will have. Like, if I
An
tell them I'm
idea.
from Delaware County, they'll be like, Delaware?
Delaware. Yeah.
No, Pennsylvania. But you said so
Yeah.
I just say Philly because
Gotcha.
when I turned 17, I also like ran to the city.
I was gonna say
Well,
with him,
that's what I wanted
He
to
went to school in Philly, so like college. So that's another reason why I feel like
Yeah.
he identifies more
Yeah.
with Philly than where he's actually from.
Yeah. No,
But it's funny. I was actually born and raised in West Philadelphia, like another famous, but like a certain famous black
yeah.
guy that we all know.
Right.
And it's funny. I was doing a presentation at work, and I actually like started to rap the song. I was doing a PowerPoint, and they all went crazy.
Of
I was like,
course.
"Oh, that was really easy."
We could do that
It
whenever.
was so easy.
You know what's funny is the first time we met, I did a rendition of that song.
You did.
right.
You
Right.
did.
You
That's
did. Yeah.
And I mean, it's true. I actually was born and raised in West Philadelphia.
Yeah.
so,
That's
funny.
But the funny thing about Philly, and I won't speak for him, but it's like I miss it, but I don't.
I don't miss it. I miss
this
what I
is
miss.
home
What I
now.
miss in Philly is people.
Yeah.
I think that have either of you ever moved from here, like lived somewhere else?
Not for like more than a year.
And I think when since we've lived other places, we go back home and we realize that how much we took it for granted. And I think that I love the city for what it is, but I also love being 3,000 miles away from family, so I
Right.
can choose what shit I want to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's all I miss. Is
Pennsylvania is
people.
also not as progressive as the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
so that's a difference too.
Right.
Because the one thing with us being a gay married couple, being in Seattle, it's a bubble.
Yeah.
And whenever we leave this bubble, is when we're reminded that like, oh, like the rest of the world is not
As
like,
accepting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though this is like this weird, like, kind of
There's rural.
faux liberal bubble.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, it's
that-
like
no, that's
there's
true.
levels to all
It
that
is.
too.
There are
but
definite,
yeah.
definite
Yeah.
levels.
Right.
Is there levels to more than that, like the biracial aspect too of your
No.
community?
I would say
is that like way?
we've never. So being an interracial couple, we've never ran into any issues.
Yeah.
And that's privilege because we know that there are many people that have, and I think
Yeah.
recognizing that privilege is important. Privilege is not a bad thing. It's okay to have it. Everyone here has it. But I think we've been lucky not to.
I also feel like when you're gay first, it's
That's-
like
yeah.
the interracial thing is just like, oh well, it's just another, just to add that to the list.
Right,
It's
right,
like there's no shock value associated with it. But the interesting thing for me that I can say about living in this area is that I am not often, but significantly enough, I am the only black person in a room, and that is such an interesting situation to be in, especially if you notice people noticing. So if I'm in a room full of people who are not black and no one is looking at me, you know what I mean? Because you catch people,
Right.
Yeah.
you know when someone's looking at you in that way of like, oh, like, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm in a room and no one's doing that, it's like sometimes I won't even notice until like I'm ready to go. But if I'm in a room of all people who don't look like me and there are certain people, and I've seen this a lot, especially with children, I'm like, have these kids never seen a black person before?
Yeah.
And it's like they just look like, wow, like you do exist. It's like, what is that? The fucking Eminem commercial?
Well, Seattle's very white.
It is.
It is very white.
But I also
Very
have,
white.
on the opposite, I have been in rooms where I've been the only white person, and
In Seattle?
Yeah, in Seattle.
Yeah.
Even when we've left Seattle and
Yeah.
gone to like New Orleans or
Right.
other areas, like, and I find people stare for sure, and I think it's also like sometimes it's like the first question is why are you here? Probably, or oh, I didn't know you are here, or wow, there is someone that doesn't look like me that's here. But then the other thing I think is just like getting familiar with someone that's not like everyone else in the room, understanding that it's okay to have diversity in the room. So
This fool has gone to, so we've gone to Essence, the music festival.
Yeah.
It's
Essence
created for black women. It's mostly black women there, all the events. And it's less diverse during the day events that they have at their convention center. And he's walked through that convention center where literally, and I lie to you not, I did not count one non-black person who didn't work there. And people were, and also, it's Jay, and he had his outfit.
Right.
This is very tame.
He was strutting.
He had
and of course,
gladiator sandals.
I knew, and I also was fully aware about the celebrity presence. So people would walk by and we were with a group of friends. I'm like, oh, that's so and so, that's so and so, and they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, you just need to know where you're going, and celebrities are going to be around you. So
And people definitely
I was
in
also-
that type of situation, they were
I also
staring.
was president of the Black Student Union when I was growing up.
I was
in
waiting
high
for that to
school.
come up.
So backstory is I came out when I was 13, and I came out, and when I was 13, I went to my mom and was like, hey, I'm gay. And she's like, duh. And then my dad was like, okay, let's have a conversation around this. It took a while for my dad to wake up and say, okay, my son's gay. I'm supportive. But my mom was like, yeah, he's gay. Next, whatever.
Right.
Went to therapy because obviously being 13, being so confident about who I was, my parents were like, let's just get you in therapy so you can have someone neutral to talk through about these feelings. I came out teased in school probably every day, and it shaped who I am today, and I think that's why I'm so quick on my feet, and I can say I definitely was teased by bullies, and bullies just realized shit, he's quick.
Yeah.
And then I also, because I came out so young and I was the only gay person in my town,
In the
my high
town.
and that at least was out.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
homos were everywhere. Which, I digress. But then I became really close friends with the black community because they also understood how it was to be a minority, be
Right.
a part of a town that was so white and so close, so Republican, and they just were not here for it. So one of my really good friends, we called her Big Megan because she was big and her name was Megan. She looked like Debo on Friday.
Did she like that name?
She actually didn't mind because she got dick. She was okay with being big.
You think she didn't mind?
I mean, she was
minded.
fine.
I don't think
She
anybody
became-
likes being
I
big
don't- I
anything.
don't.
Well, she
Unless it's
became-
just about being taller.
Right.
She was
Because I was little
she
Joe
had to.
I was little Joe on the basketball team, and let me tell you something, that wasn't fun either.
That doesn't sound fun.
No.
She became my security guard, if you will, and then people stopped teasing me, and then here I am
Oh my
on a
gosh.
podcast live.
Shout
Here
out
I
to
am.
Big Megan.
Shout out to Big Megan.
But I guess that's one of the things that why one of the reasons we ended up together probably is because you can relate
Sure.
to
Absolutely.
feelings of being part of a disenfranchised group.
But we met in the club
Okay.
13 years ago.
Let's get
In
to that.
Philadelphia.
Let's get to that
In
story.
Philadelphia. So we went out for my best friend's birthday. I was 20 at the time, and I was shitty drunk. 18 to enter, 21 to drink. So I was going up the stairs, and this guy was walking down the stairs. At the time, he didn't have glasses on. He was giving us Tyra Banks color contacts. So he had gray contacts
Yes,
in.
that's a true story.
And I was
Love
drunk, and I was like, "Oh, you're cute." And he was like,
Smizing.
yeah, that's what he did. He smized and said thanks. And then we went to the club later, and then I went up to him, and I had just moved out of my grandparents' house. I was I went to college, went back to Delaware County, which was a horrible choice, and then moved in with a best friend in the city. And this was 3 weeks after moving into my townhouse, and I was like, hey, and we started talking, exchanged numbers, started dancing. And I have rhythm, which not a lot of white people do. So cheers to God giving me, knowing how to dance.
What do you feel like you always?
It's
had
okay, I
rhythm,
get
or-
it. I get it.
Okay. Even when you were little.
Even when I was little, my mom still will say she remembers me doing the MC Hammer across the street and dancing to all this music.
Yeah.
But anywho,
Thank God they put you in dance.
I did.
class.
I did tap dance, ballet, hip hop.
Okay.
So you better have rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I met this fool. We exchanged numbers. Our first date was Dreamgirls in
Oh, that's
theater.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, callback to
Yeah.
And then he laughed probably for the
gosh.
first time, and I was like, I don't think this is gonna work. It was so loud. It was so obnoxious.
And now you laugh like
And now I laugh
what
the
was
same
the joke?
way.
What was the joke in Dreamgirls that he laughed at?
I don't even remember.
everything.
And then he had also seen
It was Eddie
before.
Murphy, wasn't
It
it?
was my third time
It's like
seeing
you've
it.
already seen this
Yeah.
more than once. But whatever. I got over the laugh, and then I adopted the laugh. Apparently, people say that we laugh the same now.
Yeah.
So.
They say that about Mike and I. Miguel and I. We've just known each other so long.
Yeah, you can complete each other's sentences. I was
Yeah.
waiting for someone to say it.
He completes me.
Yeah. Yeah, so we met in the club. First date, Dream Girl. Second date, sushi. And
Nice.
then the rest is history. He got a toothbrush, a drawer in my what is it called? Yeah, dresser. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then here we are, 13 years later.
It's been a long journey.
Yeah.
It hasn't been
Fulfilling though, fulfilling.
Good.
I don't want to give.
easy. We
wrong
lived in
impression.
three cities.
Where else did you go?
We lived right outside of DC, so in Virginia. Lived there for my work, and then that was an interesting time in my relationship, but also in our careers. And then
Fuck DC. Driving in DC is like doing a Rubik's Cube puzzle.
it was designed by a
we
French
took a
person.
trip to DC together
No-
In seventh grade.
in 7th grade.
7th grade.
We actually,
grade?
we marched on Washington with Jesse Jackson.
We did.
Duh.
We did.
Yeah,
7th grade.
in 7th
In
grade.
seventh grade. We really did.
We literally marched on Washington. 'Cause
Wait, so how long have you actually known each other?
we met
Since
I
sixth
think,
grade.
basically 6th grade, but really
Wow.
became tight 7th grade.
Seventh.
We
So
were
like
in
10 years.
because like
A solid 10
in our
years.
school, 6th grade was still like
Thank
like
you.
an elementary style. Like you had one homeroom.
Yeah.
So we knew of each other in
Okay.
6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you can tell, my rep,
He preceded me.
they were like, "Oh, there's big-headed little Joe."
Big-headed little Joe.
That's amazing to be friends for that long. That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
We actually, I mean, it's kind of a thing. Like we have our whole group of our closest friends
Yeah.
are all mostly guys that we've
That's so cool.
known around the same amount of
That's
time.
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
really amazing.
Yeah.
I have very
Doesn't
few
happen.
friends.
Does not happen.
Yeah,
from
we know.
that long ago.
For sure.
You're
It's-
blessed.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah.
you're working together. Like,
Yeah,
you're
well,
doing this shit.
That was a
It probably doesn't feel like work though.
But I mean, in the way it's like this is the most I see of any of my friends is
Right.
doing this podcast with Miguel.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, it is work, but it's also
Yeah.
like we're getting something out of it. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, hopefully, it's still fun too.
totally.
Yeah.
I love. Well, I mean, the reason we started this show was that we both have this affinity for music.
Yeah.
That we love music. We both made
I love
music and just love it and just love. We told you we were into theater. We took
Right.
theater together.
I still
That's
love
awesome.
that you both are into
Oh yeah. Well, I was raised by an actor. Like my dad was a local
Oh, awesome.
actor, and my mom was too. And then one of them had to get a real job, so she
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
a lawyer. And my dad
goals.
was an actor, and so we just both grew up loving the theater, loving just arts and performing in general. And then both just kind of got really into podcasts at the same time, because as you do when you get older, you start listening to people talk more than you
Yeah.
listen to people sing.
Mm-hmm.
And then just had this idea to do this together, and
So good. The rest
Nice.
is history.
The rest is
Oh, I love
history.
that too. That breaks the stigma because I feel like when you think theater, a lot of people think gay, and it's
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
not how
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah, like you can be
It's
creative.
acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and at
They're all
our
different kinds of actors.
at the school that we went to,
All the cool kids took drama.
all the cool kids
Nice.
were like the theater.
I
Was
would
like
have
the popular
thrived
shit.
I
doing
love
that.
that.
It was
shit.
popping.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. It was like how you kind of made you popular if you
Yes.
were like in the
Yeah.
all the plays and shit.
Okay.
I
Like that.
definitely would have
Yeah.
been the lead.
Yeah, it was a
just
thing.
saying. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to see what real school was like, so I went to a regular like public school after that. Summit was I'll quote alternative school.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like an art school, basically.
Art school kind of, and I just didn't, in that big pond, I didn't have the guts to put my ass on, show my ass on stage. So who knows, if I would have stayed at Summit, I might have.
You might have been acting.
Might have
I
been better.
You could have been at the Golden
I
Globes.
could have been somebody.
You could have been at the Golden Globes yesterday.
Yeah.
But you could have been
I was
With
there.
Beyonce.
I was there in spirit.
You were. You were there.
Just look at Chet Hanks and think of me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh wait, didn't he do some weird accent or something?
He did
on
some
the-
kind of Rasta thing
Yeah.
on the red
I
carpet.
didn't see
He's.
it, but
Who,
I
Tom
just
Hanks?
no Chet Hanks.
Who's
his
Chet
son.
Hanks?
His son, the
Chet?
rapper.
Yeah.
Oh,
Chet,
not
he was
Colin,
in-
the other one.
I didn't even know he had two
Yeah,
sons.
not the actor.
No,
Yeah.
he's the black sheep of the family.
Yeah,
can
no, I
tell.
remember. He did something. He did something like a year or two ago, right? That was not cool.
I think
can't
he was
remember.
like throwing some N words around too.
Yeah, I think that's what it
Oh.
was. I think.
Oh, that would make sense if he fashions himself to be like.
Oh,
a-
now I know who you're talking about. I just thought it was the same person.
No, we has the one son who like did that
He's an
movie
actor.
with
Orange
Jack Black.
County.
Orange
Right.
County. He's
Yeah.
good. He's
Yeah.
he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a good actor. He played a bad character in something. I don't remember.
Oh, it was
what
on Dexter.
Was he killing
Dexter.
someone?
It was on
yeah,
Dexter.
Dexter. That's right.
Dexter
Yeah,
was
that's
shit.
right.
I thought I remember that.
I fell off of Dexter the John Lithgow season.
Oh, really?
That was a good season.
Yeah.
I know, but okay. When that season was going on, my wife was pregnant, and it was just a little too dark for us at that moment.
Okay. That makes sense.
You know, we were just like we were like, yeah, this is not good vibes for
You're
this
like, we
room.
want to watch funny stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We turned on Parks and Rec. You
Yeah,
know?
there you go.
Yeah, we
I
actually
can't-
watched Dexter all the way up until the end.
We did,
Yeah.
and it was decent.
It's one of the shows that we.
You know, it's so
it got
funny.
weird.
I
but-
watched every single season up until, and then like the last like maybe 2 episodes, I never finished them.
Really?
Oh, well, it
I
didn't
just never
really
saw
end.
the
It
end.
didn't
Gotta
really
go
end with
back.
them.
I know.
That's what I did
just
too
left
with fucking Sons of Anarchy. It just got
Oh,
too
yeah.
hokey and dumb to
Really?
me. It was just too soap. It was like, oh, this guy's gonna kill this guy. And I was like, so I told my wife, I was like, just tell me what happens.
Yeah.
And she was like, this guy killed this guy. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Power.
Yeah. Did
Oh,
you guys
Power's
watch
good.
last night?
No,
Okay.
we need to watch last
You're done?
night. No,
I'm not gonna give that show any power.
I do want to
Don't.
see.
It's not worth it. But
I'll be intrigued to see who
I gotta
killed
see.
Ghost, or
Yeah.
not
Or-
killed Ghost. We don't know if he's dead.
Spoiler alert.
he's probably
He's
he's probably
shot.
I mean, it's the end. of
Don't
the
worry,
season.
this won't come out right away. so.
It's fine. Either way,
Season will be
Ghost,
over.
So long, farewell.
Yeah. I watched it. I got home and I was like, oh, that's happening tonight, huh? I was like, I guess I'll watch it.
I actually
I mean,
didn't get any spoilers. Yet.
Okay. Yeah. It was
Neither
alright.
did I. It's fine. It's totally cool.
Pretty much the whole episode is about Dre, so it's not.
That's what I've heard as
Oh,
well.
Okay.
So
I think the next couple episodes are going to be interesting. They're going to try to make you think that
Yeah.
it's someone.
Probably
Exactly.
about like an episode about each character or some
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, low key, he probably killed himself. Like that might
Shot
be
himself
what
in the
happened.
chest.
Like that
And then
might have
jump
been
backwards
what happened.
off the balcony.
Is Power the show that Jesse was on? Jesse
No,
Smollett?
that's
Oh,
No,
Empire.
that's
Empire.
that's
I always get these
Empire.
mixed up because I don't watch either of them shits.
Yeah,
all
we
black
talked
shows
about
look alike, right?
Yeah, thanks. Good job.
Great.
No, Joe, I know
I'm a-
why. It's because of that rivalry they were having
Yeah,
for a
for
while
sure, for
there.
sure.
50
Was that-
Cent was like,
I mean, who
He
hasn't had
hates
a
Empire.
who hasn't have a rivalry with 50 Cent? I feel like 50 Cent will go after
my
anyone
gosh.
that's not 50
I just
Cent.
don't watch either of them, and
Yeah.
so they just. But I see them in the same. I guess they're in the blogs as watching the same blogs as watching, right?
Yeah,
I don't know
for
if
sure.
anyone's really watching Empire anymore, but Power
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
true.
Yeah.
Empire's much more of a soap opera. Like,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Sudsy.
it's even cheesier.
Yeah,
Power's,
oh, very
But they're all
Power-
kind of soap operas.
No,
like
for
that.
sure, for sure.
Walking Dead. Walking Dead is a soap opera with zombies.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
get,
Yeah, I
what-
don't
yeah,
watch that.
I get what you're
Power
saying.
It's
has
really-
gotten more of that over
Yeah,
the years, for sure.
It has.
They're Power likes the like. I think a lot of it has to do with just like the social media presence and creating some sort of noise around what's happening.
Yeah.
And 50 Cent loves to be, in the Twitter sphere, if you will, in some capacity. Even though it has nothing to do with his music,
Yeah.
he's still making money. Which cheers to that.
Did you see what he did just the other day, a couple days ago, to French?
Oh yeah, and there's like the rivalry, and
It
then
keeps
French.
going.
French posted a picture, I think, of Dre saying that, like, spoiler alert, he killed Ghost, and it went viral.
Is French Montana on the show too?
No, but
No,
French
they're
Montana
just-
was just in the hospital for like a month or
Yeah,
more.
and then his album dropped like the day after he got out.
He was
Yeah.
sick.
He went and bought
Yeah.
a Bugatti and posted a picture of it, and then 50 got on Instagram or something and was like, "Oh, why are you trying to act like this is like a new Bugatti?
Yeah.
This is like a used 2008 Bugatti or something."
wow.
And like he's talking shit because it's still like $1 million car.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
fuck,
But, like,
'Cause liked that year.
yeah.
They make like 10 of those a year. Like, get your life
Oh,
together,
50,
50
like,
Cent. I can't with them.
Please.
But then he was like
He's such a
talking shit
bully.
about French, and he was like, "Oh, also Power in 3 days." So
Yeah.
exactly.
he just uses
Like,
that shit to
it's-
promote the
he
show.
loves that
you know what I
shit.
mean?
And it's
He's trash,
He just
but we
irritates
enjoy
me.
the
It
trash.
worked. It worked.
It did. We're talking about it.
Exactly.
So good job, Curtis.
Yeah, I don't like to talk. I don't like to talk bad about people, but I'll just say that French
But I'll just
Montana's
say.
music is not for me.
I agree.
Really?
I agree.
Couldn't
And
na-
didn't
I
real-
couldn't name a French Montana song.
Neither could I, sir.
I've heard them. I know them, but I couldn't name one off the top of my head.
We saw at Essence the one year there was like a whole Diddy Bad Boy. It was when they were doing the whole
Yeah.
like I guess
the reunion.
reunion, if you
Yeah.
will, and we were like at the end of it, and French Montana came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I don't remember French Montana being a bad boy artist.
He's like, yeah, he's part of Bad Boy.
and I don't remember
originally.
him being like a popular bad boy artist. So we're gonna leave.
It'd be funny if he started singing Cupid.
112 was there. yeah, for sure. Not French Montana, but
my God.
I like where you're going.
French Montana has a couple good songs, and he's on some other good songs. But
I know he has a couple of really big hits. But
Yeah,
just-
I mean,
I know
I
he's
don't
got
know.
hits. I just heard him rap, and I was
sorry
not
to this
impressed
man.
by it.
oh, he's not a great rapper, no, by any means. That's definitely the truth.
I'm sorry to this man. I don't know this man. Yeah, sorry.
you could see him walking down the street.
He's
can
on
see it
All
now.
the Way Up. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
but who
Oh,
does
okay,
it
that's
on
the one
that
I'm thinking
song?
of.
I mean, so was Remy Ma.
Well, he's on the original version. It's just him, Fat Joe, and Remy Ma.
Yeah, when was the last time she was on something?
Jeez, super shots fired from Jay here.
Boom, boom, boom.
I mean, has she put an album out?
No, but didn't
No.
she like
Ever?
Wasn't she the one that like stabbed someone in
yeah.
the butt in the club? Was it her? Or
She stabbed somebody. I
Or,
don't know if
no,
it was
that's
in the
Rod
butt.
Digga. Rod Digga was the one that
Really?
she had an altercation in the club. Slide in my DMs.
So
if
did
I'm wrong,
DeBrat.
_Ray.
They all have
Ray said.
altercations in the club.
Yeah.
So did Cardi
I'm not
B.
mad. I'm not mad at it.
That's that's what honestly why I
Shit, I
stopped
might
clubbing.
have. I almost had an altercation in the club when I met Ray.
Oh,
Too many
jeez.
altercations.
That night.
That night, because this
God.
other guy, Ray had a rule at that time that he wasn't going to date people on their teens.
Because I was in my 20s.
So the other
good
gentleman was
Gross.
in his teens. So, we had a little moment.
I was
a
like,
little
this
tiff.
little boy? What?
But you were in
Full
your teens
circle.
too, right?
I was 20.
Oh, okay.
So I beat him by 3 months. And here we are. I won. You're welcome.
Oh my god.
And then we decided, like, that's what I mentioned earlier, working with your spouse, like, that has been interesting. Because I am a Scorpio Leo. So
Okay.
my Scorpio is my sign, and then Leo is my moon.
How do you know?
and-
Is that the time of day?
Yeah, so there's this app. They're not sponsored by anyone. They're not sponsoring us, but I am obsessed with it. It's called CoStar. You know the date, the time, and the place you're born. It will
Yeah.
tell you about yourself. It will read you to filth.
Really?
It will read you to filth. It will continue to read me. And I'm a controller.
Okay.
I'm
Lord.
also I like to
You should work on
manage
that.
things. No, this is just who I am. You married me.
No, but
Uh,
I mean, self-awareness. You should work on it.
So I like working with him has been interesting because Ray is definitely more. He's like I'm thinking about 3 days ahead. Ray's like 3
Yeah.
minute ahead.
Okay.
Like, what are we
true.
doing?
That's very true.
And I'm like, no, we already planned this. So that has been interesting to kind of meet each other and learn the best of each other. I feel like I don't know how much. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. This is like therapy.
Uh-oh.
I hope you take EAP.
We're
I'm
here for
sitting
you
back
guys.
here like I'm waiting to see where this is going.
So
So
I-
far, so good.
I feel like
I
I don't
should
know
get another
how
drink.
much. Yeah, I don't know how much I've actually adopted of him, but I can see a lot of me in his behaviors, which I think is just him being a great husband and trying to make.
I was about
sure
to say,
I'm
is that
not-
a good thing? Okay, good,
Right.
great.
'Cause
I love to hear that.
I'm definitely. I like to manage things.
Yeah.
It's the Scorpio.
He lets you believe that you're managing him enough that you feel good about it.
Yeah, I feel like he has learned how to make me feel like I'm making the decision, even though I'm not.
Yeah. That's a huge skill. I mean,
Yeah, but I'd say the biggest
It's a challenge.
challenge with working together has more to do with separating
Oh, that's been a
like,
challenge at first.
pod stuff from like our regular like everyday life, because it's like
Yeah.
I don't always want to be talking about the pod.
Yeah.
So I think now that you say that, with your working style being in the way that it is, he wants to throw in talking about the pod anytime, and I'm like, no. In my head, I'm saying no. We need to
He likes structure.
compartmentalize these things, and if you want to talk to me about the pod, we need to set up a meeting
said,
for that.
Put something on my
Put it
calendar.
on my calendar, and then we can
Email
have,
my assistant.
We can have an
Right.
hour, 2 hours, and we can talk about it. But other than that, I don't want this on the fly like pod stuff, because for me, I'll forget.
yeah.
You'll be like, "Oh, remember when I told you?" I'm like, "I have
No.
no fucking idea what you're
Got
talking
you.
about,"
Yeah.
because you said that when we were out at the movies or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
that's been a challenge where it's like, I'm like, "No, I don't want to talk about that right now."
And I retain shit.
Yeah.
You tell me something,
Yeah,
I'll
that's true.
remember in 3 months, 3 days,
Yeah.
3 hours.
well,
that-
yin yang, you know.
You're that part of the relationship. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm
and
not.
I'm not what?
I'm definitely not. My wife is always like, I told you we talked about this. Like,
Yeah, that's
Yes.
she just told me earlier I was like looking for this like shoe cleaner and I was like, where did we put the shoe cleaner? And she was like, remember I told you I said I was going to put it in the bottom drawer of this random place that
you're
it
like,
does
don't
not
remember.
belong. I was like, why would you put it? Well, why would you even put
Yeah.
it there? And she was
It's
like,
just
well,
like,
I
"But I
told you I
told
was
you."
going to put it there. I have no recollection that she told me.
That's me.
And this is like every day. Like she
That's
tells
yeah.
me things that
definitely
she
me.
says that I just like, I have no idea. I don't remember
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because she usually tells me when I'm like in the middle of doing something.
That's him.
And so I'll be like, I just can't do the two things at once, like retain the information
Yeah.
and continue to do what I'm doing.
Like washing dishes and remembering what we're doing in 2 days from
Yes,
today.
exactly.
I
Do you
don't know.
pretend to pay attention? Because that's what I do.
I don't know that I'm consciously pretending.
I
to pay
might give a
attention.
nod and a okay.
Yeah,
Solely dismissive and not
assuming
retaining.
that I'm assuming that I'm saying okay, or else she would just keep talking about it, or like say something. So obviously, I'm acknowledging that I'm hearing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Sorry.
then she's
It's a
like,
challenge working with her, but it's a blessing, and I think that
It is.
we've said this before we were on a podcast where they had asked us about working with each other, and I had said, the biggest thing is like Ray said, creating separation, but also leaning into each other's strengths and allowing the other person to lead where you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I'm also much more extroverted than Ray is, so like we lean on that. Like I will do a cold email to anybody. Like if I don't know you, I will email you.
Yeah.
Where Ray is like more thoughtful. Like, well, before we do that, let's think about this. Maybe we do this. And I'm like, no, fuck it. If they don't respond, we're good. Like if they respond, we're golden. Like we're good.
I'm definitely an ambivert. Like I have my extroverted moments, and I have my introverted moments. Like I'm much more of like I'm the person who it's like I really don't want you dropping by my house. I would rather you tell me that you're coming, and then I can say yay or nay.
Yeah.
It's like I need to get into the right headspace to be on, if you
Prepared.
will.
Yeah.
So
Advice to anyone working or having an idea of working with your spouse: talk about boundaries, set them, respect them. However,
stick to them.
However, understand that anything that's worth the work, it's going to be challenging. So like it's not going to be pretty every day. You're going to have arguments. You're going to yell about who took the trash out because you're actually frustrated about who sent the email. But communication, therapy, alcohol,
Therapy definitely helps.
edibles,
Edibles.
Like couples therapy, it
Yeah.
helps a lot.
alcohol, edibles, alone time, whatever you need to do.
Whatever works.
Well, speaking of extrovert, I remember that I knew. Okay, so we kind of all connected initially at an event over the summer.
Yeah.
Which was the what was the name of the event? The
Park Avenue.
Park Ave event.
It was the artist party.
Artist party,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. You guys were there. We were hosting the event.
Shout out.
And
That was a cool event.
yeah, I
was.
think I think maybe I just went up to talk to you because I recognized you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
You did.
being right.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
You
so
definitely
I
did.
recognized you, Jay, from being the guy
God.
that was always twerking at the parties when
Oh,
I
yeah.
would DJ at
Definitely me.
our mutual friend Justin's
Yeah,
birthday
definitely
parties.
me.
Oh, that's
Yes.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I probably was drunk and
Yeah,
who
we had like
knows?
some like super saucy loafers, and
course.
like
I probably ripped my pants. One of those twerking
Right,
moments.
right.
That sounds
for
about
sure.
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's that guy. Let's go say what's
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and it's that's another thing. Like we during this podcast, we talked about this off mic before. We also have realized that the creative community is really small in
sure.
Seattle, but also really connected. Like
Yeah.
one person, everyone, and it's really interesting. Also, we have always been music lovers, and we realize that this city has a lot of really amazing artists that are local that we're still discovering. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people get so hung up on streaming services around like what's next, what's new, and it's usually the top artists because obviously placement,
Of course.
and money. But then this podcast has allowed us to realize that there's some really cool, amazing artists that are right that do local shows often, or maybe haven't hit it big, but they have a really cool catalog of music that we need to like embrace and learn and listen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just that artist party, I got hip to so many new artists
sure.
that I'm like a real big fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah. For us, we actually went to Capitol Hill Block Party for the first time this year.
Okay.
And that was a thing that we found because, normally you would gravitate towards the Lizzos and, whoever else they're having, what a shit show. I
Yeah,
have
that
to
was
say.
an interesting. This year was
When Lizzo was there, like, it was so crowded. It was insanity.
It was our first block party, but also first block party as press.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting
Yeah.
because we had access, but that meant nothing when Lizzo was
No,
on
it
stage.
definitely meant nothing.
really?
with
That shit
Lizzo.
was messy.
It was, but we had a really great time overall. We don't want to make it seem like we didn't have a good time at the block party, but it was interesting to to be able to see artists that we had never heard of.
Yeah, like
and to
Scarlet
connect
Park.
with them.
We saw Scarlet Park. We saw Bare Axe. We saw Whitney
Mungie.
Mungie, yeah.
There's some just amazing.
She records here, or she used to.
Does she?
She's fucking amazing. Like
Yeah, she is amazing.
We were sitting at. We saw a lot of people at Wild Rose as well, just because it was really interesting just to sit in this really intimate area, and they also feature a lot of queer artists. So it was just really cool to see that, but also just experience local artists and being introduced to like Bare Axe as an example. Shay has been on our show, and her being a Black woman fronting a rock band blew, like, it's awesome because like she has this really soulful voice, but she's like in front of this whole bunch of white men playing rock, and she's like soulful.
Yeah.
And
So
a
it's-
white audience.
It was really cool, and I appreciate that. As like we said, just getting to know new artists and
Yeah.
allowing them, inviting them into our living room, literally on our show. We've had multiple artists that we met through there. Just it's been rewarding.
And that's been one of the coolest parts about the pod for me, where it's like we have been able to experience different things and meet a lot of different people, like
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I'm eager to see like where that's gonna go in 2020.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've been able to meet a lot of people, and I think we're gonna meet a lot more people this
For
year.
sure.
And then with the events that we do, they've been pretty successful. So we don't really have any complaints so far about what we're doing. I mean, obviously, as podcasters, the pod could always be making more money.
Yeah, for
but
sure. Or making money at all.
or
Making
making
money
money
at
at all.
Yeah.
But it's
But that's where
it's
like
still
you have
fun.
to find
It's
you have
still
to
fun.
find, like, if you're doing a podcast, if you're hosting anything, you have to find streams of income that may not be sitting in front of the mic. You may be
Yeah.
hosting things.
Right.
You may, like, we do our shuffle and repeat dance party,
Yeah.
and that's something that's even though it's being funded by us and where we host the podcast, it's a revenue for us to build money to help continue the podcast. Like, it's not, we're not on the stage like, hey, I'm Jay and I'm Ray and this is he said. No, we're just like, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
We're shooting the shit and dancing to good music. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's just like the pod has evolved, because when we first started doing it, we were going somewhere, recording with someone else in his very small apartment.
Okay.
And that was fun to a certain degree, because he's sitting there and he's like laughing and like chiming in sometimes. But then it got to a point where he was gonna leave, and it was like, okay, well, I think we could probably do this ourselves.
Right.
And it's like, okay,
Not
well,
we,
what kind
Ray.
of? I think I could do this.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what kind of equipment do you have? And it's like, okay, give me like an hour tutorial about what it is that you do.
Yeah.
And it's like, so then we started recording, because we literally record at home, and it's like it's very convenient. But then because I'm really the only one who does all of the sausage.
I'm
making,
talent.
It's a little.
I'm
it can
pretty.
be a bit much sometimes.
I'm
I was up
really
pretty
pretty.
late last night to get that episode out, but you know what? Whatever. It got out.
It was
on
worth
time.
it.
On
Did
time.
it?
It was worth it.
And it was good.
So
Thanks to you two.
I'm curious about your guys' musical, I guess, influences, tastes. Also, just coming from Philadelphia area and like
I saw the shade when he looked at me. Philadelphia area.
And the air quotes.
the
don't
general
forget the air quotes.
vicinity. No, just what was that like growing up in the respective time frames that you grew up with?
The interesting thing that, and I'm gonna speak a little bit for him
Don't speak
in
for
this
me, bitch.
moment, just a little bit. The interesting thing about us is that, with regard to musical taste,
Yeah.
is that Jay, the white one, his musical tastes lean a lot more black.
Yeah.
So he
Urban.
really loves a lot more black.
Soul.
He really loves R&B music.
Yeah.
A little bit of hip hop, but like his bread and butter, I feel like, is really like firmly set in R&B space. Whereas for me, I like all different kinds of music. So the one great thing about Philly is that it really is, in that corridor, being like so close to DC,
Right.
and being so close to New York,
Yeah.
where everybody, like not everybody, but like 90% of your major artists and even a lot of your non-major artists will stop in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was great, like just having access to so much different kinds of music. And then for me, like my mom always liked different kinds of music too. But like, for instance, I listen to some country. You know what
He
I mean?
loves the Dixie Chicks.
I go to
Little
country
Big
concerts.
Town is
I'm
his favorite.
dragging him to a Little Big Town concert.
Little Big Town.
Little
Uh-oh.
Big Town
The Boondocks.
concert.
I'm good.
in April, and then I dragged him the last time. And he
Nice.
was like, "Where the fuck?"
So then I'm
am
like,
I?
okay, if we're going to Little Big Town, we're going to Sonoma Allegra. Like, I fucks with her. Her
Yeah.
new album is bomb. Like, we're going to see it.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, okay. So, like, I definitely lean more soul, and it's not because my parents. I think it's just who I gravitated to when I was growing up.
I was gonna
My
say that,
parents
yeah.
fucking lived for, like, Peter Gabriel and, like, that.
See, my mom liked Peter
Rod
Gabriel, too.
Stewart and all that. Like, you know, very, like, that.
Yeah.
Like, that was their vibe.
And see, my mom was like Phil Collins and Genesis.
Where like I
that.
would like buy the new Missy Elliott record, put my boombox in. This is hilarious. Put my boombox in the window with the speaker going out, so everyone would know this is what I'm listening to.
Oh my god!
In a very like white old neighborhood, I'm like, fuck yeah, flip
Yeah.
down like Minuteman. That's me all night. Love that.
And I'm
That's
sorry.
my jam.
How old were you when Minuteman came
Oh,
out?
who knows? My mom
Too young.
My mom bought me the little Kim hardcore album.
Oh, damn.
I also
Again.
I also got my first tattoo when I was 14. So like,
okay.
you know, I was.
You had to be like in middle school when hardcore came out.
Yeah, it was like 98 or 90. I wasn't like I was.
No, it was
definitely-
before that. It was like
I wasn't in
97.
high school yet.
Yeah, 96, 97.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have that.
I was.
I bought that
Foxy
album.
Brown,
yeah.
the Hot Spot had that album.
Catch me at the
Yeah,
high spot.
I mean,
High five.
Yeah,
And
you
I
like that. You like
definitely-
that nasty music too.
I definitely also when I
That's
think
true.
of when hip hop, I definitely lean more female MCs
Okay.
than I do male.
So do I.
And I don't know why that is. I don't know. Like I also don't.
I mean,
like,
I could tend to
I also
guess.
I also lean more female singers than male singers. I also like if I forced to listen to country, don't put on a man with a twang. I will change this shit all day. I don't need to hear that. But yeah, I guess I don't know why. I connect more to soul.
Okay.
But I feel like we do kind of we introduce each other to different music too.
In my
Like, there
older
may be
age,
artists that,
in
like-
my older age, as I become more mature, I'm more open to like I can sit at a rock concert, and but also like it for me it has to like, it's also the type of music. Like I'm open to new artists, but I have to connect to the music.
Totally, I get that a lot. Like, well,
If that makes sense.
like Miguel and I, we grew up. I mean, it was definitely like a Belle Biv DeVoe type of era
Right.
in middle school, like when we
Right.
linked up.
Shout out to your sponsor. for
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, the depot.
Yeah.
You know,
That Belle Biv Depot.
definitely that '90s New Jack swing was like in full effect
For sure.
But hip hop for sure. Like my parents, like what I got hip to from my parents was like the Beatles was what I got into,
Yeah.
which is interesting because their whole inspiration was Black American music,
Yes.
right? So that's kind of interesting if you think about it. Because then me and my friends, we got into hip hop and R&B, definitely just
Yeah.
very, soul. But then also our era of hip hop was very sample heavy.
Yes.
And so I got really excited when I would discover, because I like to listen to the oldie station too, and then when I would discover like originals, and I'd be like, that came from that. And then like that began the digging stage, and like and still we like still had a passion for finding originals, and like that got sampled from this.
My
and
best
like,
friend is really good at that. He has a playlist called The Sampler, and it literally he'll put like he will listen to a song and be like, that sample.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
now all you have to do is look it up. But
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
back then, you had to like have a brain.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
back-
and an
yeah, for sure.
encyclopedia.
you can Google it now.
yeah, but like
There's a website called Who Sampled. You can go on.
yeah, it's a great
Yes.
website.
Nice.
But it's interesting. I don't know. I guess like I'm into all kind of music too, though.
Yeah.
I just really like just shit that just has that touches me. you know,
Yeah,
I
me
guess.
too.
What it comes down to.
It's like good music is good music, and it really
Yes.
doesn't matter
Yeah.
who's making it or what genre it is. Like, one of my favorite bands when I was like in my 20s was Audioslave,
Oh, he loves.
and I was really into
And you also love
Audioslave.
Fiona Apple.
I love Fiona Apple.
I mean, that's like slit wrist.
She's
music.
pretty amazing.
but
She's pretty amazing.
But if I had to choose, like, what is your go-to, I would still say that it's R&B,
Okay.
and for the same
What type of
reasons that
R&B?
you said. So
Like if you had to say R&B, give the listeners 3 artists that you would say sum up.
that's
the art.
that.
Well, I
no,
have it easy.
That's not a
Jill
hard.
Scott, Lettucey, and then the third one I would say Erykah Badu.
Is
That's
is
also
Lettucey from
similar.
Philly too?
No, Lettucey
Okay.
is from New Orleans, but her husband
Yes,
is from
he is.
Philly.
Yeah, she spends a lot of time there.
Who's her husband?
He's a photographer. Ron.
Okay.
Is his name? I don't.
Oh,
remember.
Ron. Yeah, I know. Ron the
Go
photographer.
way back.
Yeah.
He shoots a lot of her stuff, but let us see. She is fucking amazing. Jill
Yeah.
Scott's from
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah. Let us see. I just remember was like kind of popping in that like neo soul era.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She's also a jazz singer. She's from Oakland, not New Orleans.
She is from Oakland.
And she's like a scat singer. She's fucking amazing.
She
Jill
is
Scott's about to
amazing.
tour her.
I know, and she's not coming here.
I know,
Jill
but
Scott
just
album.
and that's for me. That's the
Oh, yeah,
one.
that one
Like
album.
Yeah.
for me, Erykah Badu, I fucks with her whole catalog. But for Jill Scott, for me, like just that first album is
Oh,
just.
really?
I don't know if she's ever.
She's also fucking amazing.
I think she is, and I think she has other jams. But for me, like
That's
that
the
whole,
one, for
that's just the one.
I
that
firmly
first album
believe
is
we
just,
saw her at Essence Festival with Erykah Badu. Badu and her need to go on a joint tour.
They should.
That'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
And when we saw them at Essence, they literally would do a song and like pass the mic to each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
And it was like a soul session.
Well, Jill Scott wrote the
Yep.
the
You Got
root
Me.
song, the You Got Me. She
Yeah.
wrote that, and then
she
they
was
ended up.
originally, and
Or
they
she was
got-
originally
and they
on
put
it, and
Erykah
then
on it.
and they switched to Erykah.
Yeah.
They should do
Erykah-
like-
shady.
I'm more neo soul, clearly in my
Yes.
top three.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, for me, R&B, that's tough to say because in my formative years, New Jack was obviously definitely a thing. Mary J. Blige was like my all-time favorite, like in '92 when she came, or
Yeah.
'91 when she came out.
Yeah.
But I also love Janet Jackson.
Right.
I'm a huge Prince fan, so it's just like it runs the gamut. It's not really just one type of R&B.
For sure.
When we were on our pod and we were talking about Robin Thicke,
Yeah.
his first album is like amazing.
Second album.
No, first
he
one.
likes when he was.
Oh, he
thick.
I
liked
like
the Thick
that
album.
first one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it was
When he
That
was
like,
first
Jesus,
album
the
was
Sprite commercial.
amazing.
on the bike.
It was so amazing that no other than Lil Wayne
Yeah.
actually loved Shooter so
Shooter.
much,
Yeah.
which is from Robin Thicke's first album, which was not
Yeah.
as dyed-in-the-wool R&B as you
Yeah.
would think. And it's like that whole
Wasn't that the
album
evolution of Robin
is
Thicke?
amazing. No, it was
No,
Or was that the
called-
second one?
I think it was called Thick.
It's called Thick.
The
Yeah.
was-
first
yeah,
one was
Thick.
Thick.
But wait,
Yeah.
that's the Shooter song was originally on Robin
Thick.
Thicke's album.
Yeah.
Oh, I never even knew
It
that.
was on Thick.
Amazing.
And then that version with Lil Wayne
Was
Lil
on
Wayne
Wayne
then went
got
back and was
on.
like, "Oh, I like this."
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it just runs the
That's a
gamut.
jam.
I like things when they're a little alternative too, and an R&B that's a little alternative is really cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love music,
yeah.
and it's like
I
he loves
appreciate
music
music.
too.
Right.
So we usually go to a lot of concerts.
For sure.
We spend a lot of money on concerts.
Not these days. Listen, if
They're
you want to
pricey.
you want to go to concerts for free, it's all about becoming media. So
Well, I'm saying,
do
like,
something.
Let's we need to get our press passes on. Like, can we
Yeah.
get your connection?
I mean, low key, I'm ready.
This
I'll
is this one. Oh, we
build
are
a press
Here's
kit.
a press
Listen,
kit.
I don't know shit about shit, but Google is your friend.
Here's my
You
PowerPoint
can learn how to do
presentation.
anything.
Well, I just like the idea of you doing it for us.
Oh yeah.
Well, we already
knew
have
that's where-
somebody
I knew
that's
that's where
like
your
trying to
mind
help
Just
us
add-
do all this kind
just
of
add,
shit.
add
and,
our
like,
name to
yeah.
whatever package.
It's a journey. I have to say, like,
Let's be a part of the
I-
same conglomerate.
I
Yeah, it
literally,
works.
I will literally just Google,
Yeah.
and I literally everything that we've gotten from this podcast has just been me taking the risk and
Right.
saying, like, hey, we've had a podcast for 11 months. I'm gonna email Cap Hill Block Party and see if we'll get press passes.
Right.
Boom, we got press passes.
Nice.
Then I'm
Tight.
like, hey, we're going to, we're really interested in the art. So Seattle Art Festival is here. We would love to go and cover it. Email them, got press passes. And I'm like, hey, like we're gonna go out for Pride instead of buying $70 tickets. How can we leverage this?
Yeah.
We went to Queer Bar and covered the festival
Right.
on our podcast. Got press passes. So it's just
Nice.
And that's the important part where it's like we are doing that press. We're promoting it on our social.
You're doing the work. You're doing
Yeah.
the work. Though.
Yeah, yeah. doing
and
the
literally
work
my
for it,
first
but
press kit was a PowerPoint. Like it was not.
Is it not
fancy.
still a PowerPoint?
No, there's if you want to build a press kit and you don't want to like ask people, Google's your friend, but there's also an app called Canva.
Canva, yeah.
I like
where
Canva.
you can like go in there and they have templates built and you can just throw in the information.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
You also can Google like what to include in press kits, and I think that what's really important when you have a podcast and you're at, or you have some sort of media platform, whether you're an influencer on Instagram or you have ambition to be a beauty influencer, whatever that is, right? You need to know who your audience is and know what you want out of this, and that's just telling the story to what you want to get out of it. So we covered Alessia Cara as
Nice.
her concert. So it's just like
How did you get on that one?
Honestly, going to it was STG event. I went on the STG. It was like contact PR. I emailed and she was like, "Oh, here," like, and she literally just handed over contacts, Live Nation contacts, and she's like, "Email them," and we got it. So
Right.
it's just taking the
awesome.
risk,
That was
Yeah.
a good show.
believing in yourself,
For sure.
taking a risk, investing in yourself, being okay if someone doesn't respond, and if they don't respond.
Well, that's the thing. Like the worst thing you
Respond
can
back.
get is a non-response from
Yeah.
someone you don't know.
Right.
So when you think about it, it's like, yeah, like why not?
Yeah, it's kind of the same theory behind, having the, talking to the cute girl that you're, it's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson. So the worst thing that can happen is, well, I mean, you could get, okay, worse things could have happened. But.
And I think the thing to remind yourself is that if you email them and they don't respond, it's not because they didn't see the email. So set a reminder in your phone or in your calendar that 3 to 5 days later, respond back and saying, "Hey, kicking this to the top of your inbox." Because what people remember,
follow up.
what people remember is the email.
Yeah.
Whether if they see it says reason, and then that means there could have been communication, so they'll look at it and then they see, "Shit, I didn't respond back. Oh yeah, here you go." Like,
Right.
and that's just, it's something that I have learned through trial and error, and
Nice.
also Google.
Yeah.
Y'all, did we get your music?
My music, what?
Like
Like,
your
who do
what
you love?
music you're into? I mean, I could try to guess, but
Sure. Go ahead. Let's see.
no. Well, I mean,
let's
I would just think
guess.
that it will be in a hip hop space, but
I mean, I love
Yeah.
hip hop, of course.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to hip hop, but I also have a very diverse set of influences.
yeah.
I mean,
and especially with your being a DJ, like you
well,
gotta-
that too, of course. I've
Yeah.
definitely discovered lots of other music that I wasn't hip to growing up
Okay.
that I love. That's older. You know what I mean? But I mean, I grew up, and my dad grew up in Southern California and listened to like Motown and whatever basically was like the popular like black music of the day,
Right.
because the Mexicans and the black people in his town were kind of like all hung out together.
Okay.
So he was influenced by that, and then my mom, I don't even really know what my mom. She was probably just into like pop music
Carpenters.
growing up. No, they weren't around yet. But then my parents, when they got together, they were both like hippies, so they were way more into like folk music.
Yeah,
You know what
okay.
I mean?
Same.
And then later, my dad was in like a bluegrass band. So like,
Wow.
and yeah. So I grew up. I mean, I love pop music.
Yeah.
Growing up, I would always like love singing along to songs on the radio.
MTV generation, like we grew up with
Yes.
that shit.
Yes.
you
Oh
know,
my
I'm-
God, MTV.
I know, like
Back when it was
A lot.
real
MTV
music.
when they just showed everything.
Music.
for sure.
It had no genre.
Nah,
it was
you would just sit there and
everything.
wait until the In Vogue
Popular
video
music.
came back on.
Yes,
And that's why
exactly.
I want to unpack this, because we've had heated debates with our friends about this. Define pop music,
Well, now pop music
or like just
growing
pop
up
music. Like, I think that pop music, in my opinion, I
Yes.
feel like pop music has evolved.
yes.
Through generations, right? And we've had for instance, we've had very heated debates around specific artists, if they're pop, if they're not.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to hear people's perspectives, and you both being really into hip hop, but also just music.
Yeah.
What are your views on pop music? Like, what is pop music?
Well, I mean, pop is definitely just popular.
Yes.
So now all hip hop is pop music.
It is
Right?
Mainstream.
100%.
Main,
The
whatever's mainstream.
Yes.
is
yeah,
pop music.
because
right?
I argue,
Good
I'm like,
qualifier.
I argue pop is popular because Green Day was pop, right? And you think
And that
about-
was kind of pop punk, right?
Yeah, and then you think about like what's hot right now. Like, people would argue that Lizzo is pop, but then they'll also say that Ellie, what's her name? Like Ellie, the girl that I said needs therapy, the young
Billie
girl.
Eilish?
Billie Eilish, like they say
definitely.
that she's pop.
She's hella
But then
pop.
like you say that you look at
I was
pop,
actually I finally checked for her because I'd been hearing so much.
Yeah.
And I was impressed. She's
she's
tight.
extremely
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah.
However, like to say people are pop and you look at Lizzo and her, like they're completely opposite.
Totally
so I love that
different
you say
genres
pop,
of music.
but
Right.
they're considered pop
Yeah.
because
For sure.
they're popular.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I love
But
that you said that.
That I said because I was talking about, I think back in
But even
when
now,
I was talking
right?
about with my dad. Is that what I said?
You said pop, yeah.
well, like
but
there was a
I-
time
but
when
you
Mo-
liked pop music.
Well, no. Well, I was talking about. Oh, yeah, when I was talking about when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
grew up was pop
Yeah.
music, which
Yeah.
was basically like 80s and
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
But then I guess more 90s. Once like I met Joe and we were kind of like middle school era. Then it was pretty much like heavy hip hop.
yeah, we got
from
heavy,
then on.
especially the '90s
then-
gangster rap was
Oh,
just
yeah.
that was the
Yeah.
shit.
Super
Yeah.
influential.
And,
And
there
that
was a
was-
big
and that was
divide.
pop.
There was a time when,
To a certain
like,
extent, yeah.
if you were a hip hop head, it was more you leaned east or west coast
Yes.
just because
Yeah.
the style of music was they
So
really
different.
were really different at that time.
Right.
And then they kind of started to blend and
Yeah.
get more.
And that's why I was actually curious about your guys' musical stuff, like, from the East
Yeah.
Coast, because I know that it's like, at least back then, it was a little bit different,
Yeah.
vibes on a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I
so-
actually feel like, and I can't really speak for any other area besides Philly,
Yeah.
is that I don't necessarily feel like people took sides. And I think a lot of that had to do with the MTVs of the world because they were playing everything. And it's like radio, maybe a little bit different, but if you were like an MTV kid like I was, you were getting exposed to all of it, and then you just got to choose what you liked without feeling like you needed to take a side. Because I remember MTV they were playing all the West Coast rap on a
Madonna's,
loop.
The rap, yeah, they-
Like
yeah.
all of it, like all the gin and juice, all the today was a good day.
when you had a
Like-
huge grunge phase when like
Yes.
even here like we have Cube and Cube is like our pop station and they were like hip hop R&B pop music and then they had a grunge phase like just because that was
Really?
everywhere.
Oh yeah, there was
In the
there
90s?
was a time when Cube
Wow.
switched over and was like,
funny.
well, they never went full grunge.
No,
Yeah.
but they'd
but
go
they
from
were
like,
oh, we're gonna play.
TLC to Nirvana,
Right.
okay.
like back to back.
They were like,
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna.
don't-
They
I
were
don't
like,
mind
oh,
that.
the grunge is so big,
Yeah.
we got to include this.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just made their station into this like split thing where they played
Yeah.
a bunch of like Green Day and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, but also TLC and
Yeah.
Janet Jackson and
Yeah, that was back in the good days when
Hi,
the
Nika
top
Mosey.
10, when the top 10 of music was like diverse.
Word them up.
It wasn't like one genre. Like now, I feel like genres definitely lead the top streamed hip hop being one of them. Like it's definitely become one genre type of.
I do feel like the
success.
industry would be less willing to say that hip hop is pop.
They would.
And I don't know what the blocker is
Well-
because it literally is pop.
yeah.
It
I
is.
feel like it's
Especially with
undeniable now,
streaming.
though. I mean,
Streaming has
sure.
taken hip hop to just like it is the most popular form of music right now.
But
So
then you
it's
have
like,
What's
why
artists-
interesting
wouldn't
is
you call
that
it pop?
country and like especially new country was like the biggest competitor with hip hop as far as
Yeah.
like album sales and streams.
Florida
and
Georgia Line.
No, thank you. Because then they're collaborating with like Nellies of the world, and I mean
That's just trash.
that's a whole other
It's such-
conversation.
It's garbage. It's
But I
fictional.
think that's the thing is I feel like people also would argue that is Drake rap, right? There's a lot of argument out there like, is he really a rap artist or does he just
He is.
I think
He
yeah,
is.
100% he is.
So I think people argue that. People argue if he's pop or rap. Like I ultimately just hip hop definitely is the most popular genre right now, and the numbers don't lie. in the
They don't.
streams.
I mean, that's what led Apple to buy Beats.
yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted
Well, I
to
think
exploit that audience.
want that.
And I
urban
think
market.
that I just saw that Dr. Dre was crowned the most like the greatest money making music
He
artist.
made the most
He made more money
most money in the decade.
in the
from
decade.
2000.
And I think a
So
big
his
part
name
of that
was
was
Jimmy
that,
Iovine?
that
Oh,
Apple
it totally
deal.
was. He got
Oh,
like
yeah.
$600 million on it.
Of course.
And it was
Yeah.
was it Jimmy Iovine in him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if well, Jimmy's not an artist, so he wasn't
Yeah,
on,
but he,
on that list.
Yeah. But I mean, Tidal is also another one where if you look at the top streaming artists on Tidal, they're all hip hop. All of
yeah.
them.
It's all of them, even Spotify.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was a
for
big thing with country for a long time is that you'd still go to Target to buy the CD.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
Country
Walmart.
was like the last.
It was
Yeah.
the last
of
one to
the-
cross over.
Right.
Totally. Even now, like they don't get streams the way
Even
other
Ray
genres
stopped
do.
buying CDs, and Ray
I
was like
did.
super.
It took a
like,
while.
Really?
I'm buying CDs.
It
Me
took
too.
a while.
Like,
I was the
guy
guy.
right here.
He still has like
a while.
4 CD cases
I
underneath
do.
the bed.
I have
Logic?
I have crates.
Yes. Case
Yes.
Logic.
No, I kept my jewel cases.
I wish I had done that.
Yeah. I
I'm
have
so
those, too.
irritated with myself that I didn't do that.
Well, because
So-
now I could actually go on eBay and like try to like make some of that money back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But some of them I don't want to get rid of because
Right.
they still haven't put my Aaliyah on streaming yet, and that shit got me heated.
It's coming this month, allegedly.
Uh,
I would say
this
alleged.
month?
Allegedly, they
Oh,
said
I
in
didn't know that
January.
when you guys talked about
I
it
think at the
yesterday.
end of the month, if
Okay.
my memory serves me. I'm ready for her,
I'm ready.
her Aaliyah self-titled.
you guys already know my playlist game. Like
Oh, I
she's
know.
getting added.
Did I?
first song on the Baby Making.
Not to kind of like totally suck the air out of him and change the subject, but it's related.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Have either of you watched any of the Surviving R. Kelly?
Yeah, I have.
Have you been
newest?
watching the new one?
I didn't watch the new one yet.
There's a
I
new
heard
one?
I heard some of the
Yeah.
stuff today about it, but
It's interesting because Dame Dash is actually a part of it.
Yeah, I heard a clip of him talking.
And
about
he
it.
actually has started talking about, not like in any great detail, but just kind of like saying
I'm worried
that
about anyone that shows up in shorts with their bulldog for an interview with Lifetime needs counseling.
He did look a little crazy. He's not aging well. I don't know what kind of drugs he was doing, but he doesn't look
He just
good.
smokes a lot of weed, but
I
he's,
mean, he must be smoking really, really good fucking weed. That's
Pass
not-
looking-
that.
He's
that
clearly
pirate
not. He's
over
clearly
here.
not hydrating.
He's not
No.
drinking water. But he just kind of like said, hey, like, yeah, you know, she wouldn't talk about it. So like he doesn't even, I guess, know the details, but he's like, she wouldn't talk about it. And, you know, it's crazy because like I had to be in rooms with this guy.
right.
Yeah.
And it's like now like seeing like what he has done to these women. It's
Right.
like, I'm so glad I didn't know the
Yeah.
extent of what had
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. Because
Well-
he said he was
Trash.
basically just like she would say, you know, like it's whatever, it happened, it's in the past, but just don't like bring
Keep
him,
him
in the
away
same,
from
keep
me.
him away from
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and that he was like, yeah, she was 15, or he was like, she was 13, and the guy interviewing him was like, well, she was actually 15. He was like, yeah, well, 13
He's
is
like,
15,
right. He's like, if it's
Like,
under 18,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
too young.
yeah, exactly.
It's just this second season, if
Yeah.
you will, of this series. I went into it wondering how they were going to evolve the conversation, and there were moments where I feel like they were revisiting what they already talked about, but
Yeah.
then also were moments where I'm like, are they trying to make us feel bad for him?
They
And
are.
I was
No, I
like,
think they are.
then I was like, fuck no, they are dragging him.
No, but it's I think it's
What
a,
channel is it on?
It's Lifetime.
Lifetime.
It's a balance because what I have taken away from the second part is that often people who victimize other people are also victims.
yeah.
hurt people hurt people.
So exactly, and
So
it's like
true.
what they've done. They talked a little bit about the fact that he had been abused in the first
Right.
series, but they kind of got they
More
talked
into
about
it.
in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then just kind of let that part of the story go because it was a part of his history.
Yeah.
But this one is much more like, no, he was actually
Yeah.
abused by multiple
Yeah.
people
his
in
brother
his life.
was talking about it,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like this, will often lead people into a mental space where they hurt other people just
course.
because it's all
It's
they
a
know.
cycle. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm just ready for that motherfucker. The end of like April, the 25th of April is his trial date.
Put his ass under the jail.
I'm ready, and he can be
Under the
cellmate
jail.
with who is it?
I don't know.
Bill Cosby.
Oh Lord.
Well, you know what's something that doesn't that doesn't get discussed. I mean, people have touched on like the fact that like Jay, knew Beyonce when she was very young.
Oh, they have.
And but the fact that him and R. Kelly made 2 complete albums together.
Yes.
Like
And they're still on streaming services. I found that very interesting.
Are they still on streaming
They
services?
are. When it was Jay-Z's birthday and you went on
Oh, when he put
Tidal,
all his music back
all
on?
of it was on
Oh,
Tidal.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like I didn't. Those were that time period. I was not fucking with mainstream hip hop very
Right,
much.
that's
Like
right,
I was
I remember.
very underground at the time and just not really feeling the bling
Yeah,
scene.
right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really fuck with it.
You didn't like the 99 2000s? Juvenile? Back that ass up? You do now.
I made a really good parody of "Back That Ass Up" in my friend's living room, but I'll save that for a future commercial, for the podcast.
No, but that's the what that whole conversation about Dame Dash came from.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
at Dame Dash was obviously
Exactly.
Rockefeller.
Well, that's made me think
during
of it.
Best of Both Worlds,
Yep.
and that was the time when he was dating Aaliyah.
Yep. That shit was messy.
Did you know that Dame Dash was dating Aaliyah back then?
I did not know
They
that.
were
Yeah.
engaged.
They were
They
like-
were
yeah,
engaged.
they were
when
gonna
she
get married.
passed
She
away.
died. Yeah.
Yep.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that's why he was even on the show.
Yeah. We've talked about this as I think if not on mic, off mic. It's hard to listen to an R. Kelly song now or something. And it's also we've been in situations where we're like, yeah, I love this song, and then we Wikipedia it real time. Shit, he produced it.
Right.
Yo,
Talk
I-
about someone who was big in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yo,
There's
I
so
found
much-
this like it's remix, the Refugee All Star
Uh-huh.
Gone to November remix with, and it's got
Yes.
R. Kelly singing on it, and I'm like,
I
yo,
know.
Clef.
Yeah.
I know my wife was listening to the song. We were driving in the car the other day, and I was like, wait, who is that? And she was like, it's Changing Faces. And I was like, I knew it. I was like, it sounds like an R. Kelly written song. And
Exactly.
I knew I remembered the song, but I just
He
couldn't
even
remember who it
tainted the
was.
fucking Isley Brothers, man.
It's so
I know.
hard.
The Ozzy
It's
Brothers, all of the
B2K,
B2K music, which I'm
all
not
of the
into
catalog.
them.
I was I don't care.
Because
about
that was after us. That was too like early 2000s.
I remember
like,
Bump Bump
Bump,
Bump.
Bump,
I was here
Bump
for
was
that.
that.
I remember Bump Bump
Yeah.
Bump.
I think
but,
it was
like,
just that song, though, wasn't it?
No,
he
he's
did
written
like a
multiple
lot of
songs.
He did a lot of the other songs too.
I don't remember any of that, and I'm glad for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging. challenging. But I just hope that his day comes.
I think it will.
And I
don't
can't wait
think
for
it
the
will.
Aaliyah to be on streaming service and
Yeah.
Black Round Music, the horrible.
Well, that's what's again. It's like
record
just the
label
fact
they
that
are.
only her first album is available. It's just so.
But her uncle owns the music, and I'm sure he is racked with guilt about his part in introducing R.
Yeah.
Kelly to
Oh, yeah.
Aaliyah.
But
so
also
I
the
feel like
state's
that
making
has
zero
probably
money.
has some
Right, it seems
something to
silly,
do with
right?
it. He doesn't care because I think it has a lot to do with just his own personal feelings.
I think it's
about her.
beyond just. Well, he owns the rights to the music, but it's
Yeah.
also Black Round Music, the record label.
Yeah, but he is
I
like
don't
really
think he's
involved
part
with
of that.
label.
And I know also Tamar's
So
ex-husband.
somebody-
What's his name?
So somebody owns the
Vincent
first album
Herbert.
that doesn't own the second two.
Yeah.
They own like all the rest of
all
the
of
music.
the rest.
So
That's
the,
why YouTube
the
is
non
on
R.
new
Kelly
waitlist.
music.
I mean, even like come on, we need the soundtracks. You know, we need the,
Romeo Must Die.
Come on.
Nice soundtrack.
Ah, here for that. With the song with DMX.
It all away.
So
Ugh.
good.
Dude, the videos are still on YouTube, and that's sometimes I just get my fix. I just go on YouTube and just watch Aaliyah
Your
videos.
fix.
Another debate that we've had with friends that I would love for you two to weigh in on is about Aaliyah, which is if Aaliyah had lived, do you think that Beyonce would be as big as she is? Or do you think Aaliyah would have filled that space?
I don't know.
I don't think you can take away like even when Destiny's Child was a thing when they first came out, and I remember Wyclef did the remix.
Yes.
And I was like, yo, that one chick on Destiny's Child is amazing. She was so fun.
It was Latavia, wasn't it? It was
Yes.
Latavia. It was Latavia.
I mean, Beyonce she stood above the rest like from jump.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she had that spark. It was
sure.
it was a game over.
Right.
From
right.
jump.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, people have had that debate between Beyonce and Riri, and I think they're both amazing.
Yeah, they're
and,
coexisting quite nicely.
Yeah, and I
I
think
think that-
there's many debates that can be had why one is, superior to the other. We all have our personal favorites.
Yeah.
I think that Aaliyah was
I like bad
making
girls.
a path into
I'm
acting.
just saying.
She was supposed to be in The Matrix. She was
Right.
supposed to be
That's
Jenny
right.
Pickett's
That's right.
role
She
in
was
The
in that
Matrix.
horrible Queen of
She
the
was in
Damned
that,
movie.
yeah.
That still
I
was
know.
good. I think that it has a
That
cult
movie was
following.
terrible.
But I definitely think that I think she would have been less. She would have done music probably less.
I think
and
so,
been
too.
more of
Should
an
have
actress.
transcended just the music. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, but they're also.
Well, just think of like
For both
I mean,
of
think
them.
about like what I mean, like what Pac would have done in movies. Like how his career was going.
I think the real debate is would there be a Ciara if there was an Aaliyah? Like I don't know. Like Aaliyah had a voice, but she didn't have a voice, right?
Yeah.
Where like Ciara has a voice, quotes, but she doesn't have a voice.
Damn.
Like no shade.
Oh, okay. It sounded like shade on my boob.
I mean,
Ciara
send
can
me a
sing.
track of Ciara with vocals.
Sierra can
Sierra can
carry a
sing.
tune.
So could
I don't
I?
know. I mean, she got them cookies though.
Goodies.
she
It's,
prayed-
it's goodies, Joe. It's goodies.
Yeah.
See, I fucked up. I can't even get my references right.
Oh no, but actually, what was it that was just talking about that? Something was just talking about how I heard some interview, and
Her cookies.
no, the song was originally called "My Cookies,"
Haha, see?
Ew.
and they took it to
Yeah, no, that
you didn't know
sounds
that though.
terrible.
With Petey Paul, what is it?
Petey Pablo. Yeah. But then
Yeah.
who was it? That,
Whatever happened to Petey?
Yeah.
I think it was maybe it was Little
I think
John. or
he took
something
his
like
shirt,
that.
turned
I
it into
think-
a helicopter, and flew away.
Yeah, I remember that shit. Yeah, he flew away. He flew away. Such a visual.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't knock Sierra because here's an interesting thing.
She prayed
in
up,
my
and
mind
now
about
she laid up
Sierra
on Mercer Island.
is that even like when like she was beyond making her big hits, and she still stayed in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
She became almost like a socialite.
That's
She would be
goals.
here and there and hosting this thing and that thing, and it's like so she's been able to maintain this like
and
level
she had a
of
baby by
visibility.
fuckboy of all fuckboys. Future.
Well, that was part of what actually kept her visible, to be perfectly honest. And then made a song about it.
She was one of 7 baby mamas.
And they won't be the last. But that's
think he
just
just
like
had another one.
you
I know, I think
can't.
so, too.
I can't. You can't knock people like that because it's like if you can.
She's
keep
like
your
the Rita
name,
Ora. Rita Ora, you know Rita
No,
Ora.
Yes,
no,
but
no.
I don't.
I mean,
think-
everyone
I
knows
would
I don't
not
put her
in
on
the
a
same
Sierra
But
box.
no one
No.
can tell you a Rita Ora song.
No.
Right.
I remember
And
when
you
she was
can name-
popping.
And
you can
everyone
name plenty
knows
of
that
CC
she
songs.
and everyone knows that Rita Ora dated Rob Kardashian.
I didn't know.
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
did she?
I
knew
oh,
that,
she
yeah.
did.
She
did.
she
Okay.
cheated on him.
Don't all his girlfriends do that?
And then because Adrian Bylon also he cheated on Adrian Bylon.
he cheated on her. Yeah.
And Adrian Bylon had his name tattoo on her ass.
Here you go. How How we
it's
get
just-
onto the Kardashians?
Because
I can't keep
everything
up.
Always
That is my
goes
least
back
favorite.
to the
Goes back to the
Kardashians.
Kardashians, right?
God.
Everything.
I will
always
say,
goes back.
I did see
Even the biggest podcasts, our mentions were on fire on Twitter.
I know.
Thanks,
I know.
Cam.
I told you.
It was like 10, it was probably at least 10 years ago. And I went, it was maybe a little more than that. And I had a free ticket to Summer Jam with a friend who was like interning at Cube. And Sierra was one of the headliners and that show was garbage. It was so bad. Like the sound was just off. But God bless her. She tried. She shook her little
And
ass.
she still did it.
And then I heard like on the radio like that she like put out an apology because she had like literally like just landed, got thrown on stage, everything. It was just she kind of got thrown to the wolves and didn't get a sound check or any of that shit. And so I think she came back and did like a free show.
Wow.
Like a makeup show. Like that was just
Okay.
so.
I will not stand
that's-
for any
that's pretty classic.
Sierra hatred here.
Especially,
I fuck with
especially
Sierra.
not during the playoffs.
I know. And it's
I
you
like
gotta- you
Sierra
gotta
a lot. I like her songs.
also like
she
Sierra.
has mad gigs.
She does.
More than most
She does.
other
And her music
R&B
isn't-
songstresses.
She
Her
stays
music isn't
booked.
bad. I think
She
I want to
stays
lay,
booked.
but I don't see her as a singer.
Maybe
I
she's
see-
not as much of a singer as some other people.
Although didn't she get into that fight with Rihanna and Rihanna
Where-
said
That was
show me the
height-
stage that you
That was
What'd she say?
height
was
Rihanna
shady.
clapback.
What
When
did she say?
I think it was like there was beef between them
How
two.
they even get into a beef?
I don't remember. There was some
remember.
beef between them two, and then Rihanna tweeted and was like, "Oh, show me the stage you're getting booked on." Like, I'll have to find it.
Oh, damn.
And show it to you. There was like,
That was before
clapback.
Sierra kind of came back because Sierra's back now.
Yeah, she's back now.
And we
She
saw
she
her
leveled up.
at
Leveled up.
too, and she actually put on a pretty good show.
So she had a hit recently.
Level Up.
She had level up.
It was
Yes,
adjacent.
yes, level up was a hit.
It was a viral moment.
It was a
Yeah.
viral hit.
Yeah. She's also owns her fucking masters, so
Yeah,
good for her. She's
She actually has a song that I love.
Which one?
Off the new album, which is called "Thinking About You," and
Dedicated
it sounds
to
kind
Russell?
of like '80s, maybe.
it's like poppy.
and then you'll,
I've been thinking about you.
Okay.
exactly.
Miguel.
And the two of you, and I don't know if you've seen the video, Miguel, but
yeah.
It's corny.
Joe, you should watch the video. She's like running around this hotel room, getting ready.
I saw her
and-
do a cartwheel pregnant.
She does.
She's savage.
Hey,
You see that video?
No.
yeah, I did. saw
I
it.
also love Twitter so much because they will drag Russell Wilson about what he was to what he
know.
is today.
I
Like
know.
they'll show him in like
Well,
a
what was
polo
he?
and like Lily
because
Booster shorts.
he wasn't that fashionable and because he's like a good guy.
And then he was
so
like,
they,
now
he
he
just
has
gets
like
hated on because he's not
cornrows and a butt.
he's
Like
not Future.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I had read was that he may not be like as like cookie cutter
wholesome
as you think.
as you think. Yeah.
And
well,
like,
you know, the ones that love God usually do nasty things.
like he was apparently a bully like back in the
Oh,
day,
really?
like in
See
school
that.
or
I
whatever.
can see that.
Yeah, so it's like.
But I also
you know,
heard that he actually he made amends to that. Like he
Oh, did he?
Well, like he acknowledged what he was,
Right.
and like that's a part of who he is now.
confessed.
Is that he grew,
And see,
he-
that's great.
and that like he learned from his past,
See,
and
I love
and
that.
like that's what all you can hope
You
for
know what that
anybody
is?
Exactly.
is that
Growth.
exactly that's all you can hope for any of us is that we. It's not about perfection; it's about progression.
Yes.
right,
Yes. Oh, I love that.
right.
That could be a T-shirt
Hey,
on the back. Biggest podcast.
And the thing with Russell is the thing that happens to a lot of these famous guys who get with women who are arguably more famous than they are, especially if that woman actually also happens to be kind of like a fashion person. Because J-Lo does the same thing with everybody she's ever been with. Ben Affleck being the one I really remember, where it's like, you think about what he was like before they were dating and then during their
Sloppy.
dating,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, she really like
Glowed
dusted
him
him
up.
off and
Affleck.
spit shined him up. It's like, okay, sure. And I feel like that's what happened with Russell. And Russell has like his clothing brand and everything.
Yeah,
The good man, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
good brand.
He's actually got some good stuff. One of my my wife's cousin's boyfriend just did some like campaign for him, modeling campaign.
Nice.
And like his he got some gear. It's like
Yeah,
it's good quality.
It's
very
way better than that
classic.
Richard Sherman. That Richard Sherman gear is whack.
Wait, does he
But
have
nobody's. Yeah, they all do.
that
But
Wingstop?
nobody's fucking with Beast
Isn't
Mode.
Wingstop?
Nobody's
his
fucking
gear?
with Beast Mode.
Or is, who's when?
No,
who
Richard
owns
Sherman. It's just
Who
like
owns Wingstop?
he owns the one.
Oh, he
close
owns
to
a
in
couple.
West Seattle.
That's
Yeah.
Richard
He
Sherman.
owns the one right
Richard
across
Sherman
from
does?
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
right
that's
across from
funny.
our place.
That's funny.
Now everyone knows where we live. We live at Staples.
The DOL.
Yeah. The DOL, Staples.
Staples Center, right? Yeah.
Staples Center,
Yeah.
Bank of America, Starbucks.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
A mess.
No, that's okay. I love Sierra, and she's like really fine to me. So
No,
No,
she's
for sure.
beautiful.
For sure.
I
I'm
would-
here for it.
you know.
Miguel, next time you put her on, I'll dance. I mean,
Okay.
clearly, I like the music.
Don't act like you don't like 1-2 step.
I do.
Oh,
Okay.
he loves
That's
1-2
what I'm
step.
saying.
It
I'm
might
sure
be
you've
my
seen him do a 1-2
Yeah.
step.
Okay.
In
Several.
over these years.
Don't call me out.
At least you could still step to Sierra. You can't step to R. Kelly anymore.
This
No.
is true.
It's
I mean,
true.
you can. People do it, but I mean, I wouldn't.
I can't. I have a video. It's the most adorable video of my son, who's 8 now, and he was like 3 at the time at my cousin's wedding, and it was "Step in the Name of Love" was playing, and he's like stepping, and it's so adorable, and I can never play that video again.
Oh, that sucks.
You could put it on mute.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, or you
Yeah.
could just add in some new music.
New music.
Oh,
I'm gonna put some Sierra over
1-2
it.
step.
Yes.
That could be the new. It could be the new. And then
I'll
yeah.
TikTok it.
Yeah, TikTok for sure. Oh, you're so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so
I could
so
only
cool.
be if I could only be as cool.
yeah.
I'm Trey Lorenz.
Hilarious.
All right, so I have another question for the group.
Oh,
I'm gonna
gosh.
pretend like this is my show.
All right.
Oh, no, you're not. This
but-
is not your show.
Question for everyone, since we're very early in 2020.
Yeah.
And we're all music people.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was the best album and best song of last year, 2019?
I don't know. I'd have to have like a list in front of me to remember
That's
everything.
challenging.
Best album, best.
Locally, I really fucks with that Anthony Danza project. That
that's good.
That was really good. The BBS Diaries, and he's got a new one just to shout out. It'll be out once this drops, but he's got his BBS Diaries Volume 2 is coming out, and that's the big homie. And he put out some good music. It's very in a he's got a real 80s feel to his beats and his whole
The theme. Yeah.
just the whole theme of his music is really dope. You should check it out.
Okay.
But as far as like
Nationals.
what do I fuck with?
I mean, I enjoy that.
What are some
I
shit you
enjoy.
guys like? I don't-
I enjoy that you are referencing local because that's obviously not on a lot of people's radar.
That's
Yeah.
not. And I feel like my mind never works that way when I'm thinking.
Did that
of,
Internet album come out this
top,
year?
Top album.
Was that this year? The newer
I think it
one
was 2018.
Yeah. It
Was it 2018? 2018.
Okay.
2018.
Yeah, I think you're
with
right.
Hold On it? That
Yeah,
was
because
it.
I think that was nominated for a Grammy.
I got hip to Alina Baraz this year.
Yeah,
Like I
shout
said,
out.
You just got hip to Alina.
when we had
Yeah.
the Rogers Daughters.
Oh.
Because Casey was shouted out as somebody
Yeah.
that she liked, and so when we were doing editing, I was like, "Oh, let's check that out." And I looked, I was like, "Oh," I was like,
she's tight.
"That's fire."
Music is
So
hard because I
hard.
feel like
It is
there's
hard.
so
it's
much
so
out
subjective.
there.
There's so much music.
Well, that
out.
too, but there's just so
There's
much now. It's crazy.
with
I think-
streaming has taken it to like this level of absurdity where it's like it's hard to even keep up with the new music that comes out every week. Most
Another
parts of it.
like singer, a dude who I got hip to at the artist party, P. Cruz. He's only
yeah.
got a few singles out, but he just put out a new one called "Call It Love" featuring Arena.
Yeah.
But he had one featuring Zahara. Those are two also bangers. I like.
Yeah.
I fuck with a lot.
You're all right.
So I have a
You're killing
question. How do you? This is just curious, maybe for myself, but also Ray, maybe our listeners. Where have you found the best place to find local talent outside of just like meeting people? Like, is there like a certain like? Is it just like Googling or
No,
following
it's
a
all just
hashtag or, like,
connections and
meeting?
people
Yeah.
and hearing about people from other people and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
that's
Like
cool.
we had this guy on last month he's like a studio engineer. Mira connected him with us, and he has his own studio, and he has a bunch of people on, and he talked about multiple people,
Yeah.
and then we went and checked them out, and we were like, oh, these people are tight.
That's
so we
cool.
like now we know about them.
Yeah.
And, just like
I mean,
random
there's
shit
definitely
like that.
people that we've added to our, book of music because of who you said, hey, listen to this person. So
Right.
I think that it was.
Yeah,
I
we
was
just
curious.
got. Yeah, we like, for example, like just from I think it was Chase Fade mentioned him, and then also Milo, the engineer Miguel was talking about.
Yeah.
Macintosh is a up and coming MC from the town, and oh man, he's got this song called Superpowers. So the video especially.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different songs
Yeah.
because I have to keep up with so much current
Yeah,
music. It's
yeah.
really hard to just stay up on like what's all the newest music because,
Yeah.
like we said, there's so much shit coming out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not even getting a chance to like listen to albums that often because I'm
Yeah.
just trying
It's
to keep up
hard.
with all the singles that are like potentially the next club banger or
Agreed.
whatever.
Yeah, because that's interesting because music, you appreciate music, but it also is a part of like.
Yeah, he kind of has to be
right.
hip to like what
So
the
you have
kids
to
are
know
listening
some
to.
stupid
Right.
shit.
Right.
See, like I get to like just zone out to my fucking Demi Lovato. Sorry, not sorry, because that is still my
He was
jam.
just waiting to bring up the
Yeah,
Demi Lovato.
I was
again.
waiting for Demi Lovato to be like
That shit is so
song.
fire. And then now, like all of a sudden, my kids discovered Pentatonics. So now I got the
Oh,
Pentatonics version.
Yeah.
in my
We
streams.
saw them live.
We did.
They opened for
Their
Cadillac.
version.
We
of,
did.
Their
Ray didn't want to admit that
Yeah.
one.
yo, but their Hallelujah
They're
is
talented.
fire.
No,
They're
I mean
talented.
they've turned themselves into kind of like a Mariah Jr., where the bread and butter of their business is Christmas.
Holiday stuff.
The
But I mean,
Hallelujah
it's
kills
smart.
it.
It's
Well,
like, why
bitch,
not?
ho ho ho! Christmas time is here. I will pimp out during the Christmas time if I have to get.
I
the
mean,
checks
that's what
they're
they've been
getting.
doing. Every year they have like a new Christmas album.
Yeah, they
How
know.
many fucking Christmas songs can you have?
Ooh, you
I
can't
mean, this
have
last
that.
one was literally what they did was they took songs from older albums and added them, and then like some newer songs with other artists is
Yeah.
what they did for this. I listened to it, but I'm not really a Pentatonics fan. But they are super talented.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
Like I
cannot
said,
take
I
away
have
from their
children,
talent.
so
I know,
Yeah.
I know. It's a qualifier.
That's the
It's a qualifier.
Even if he didn't have kids, he'd definitely be bumping "Sorry Not Sorry."
Oh, I'd still be bumping my Demi Lovato. That's
Oh, yeah,
my
yeah,
jam.
Yeah, that's his jam. That's not the kids.
No.
They're just lucky enough to get a little,
Yeah.
trickle down Demi Lovato.
Yeah, it is really hard, and even like for us, because even for the pod, we're always looking, at new music and
Yeah.
trying to keep
Not
up
just
with
music, but also
everything.
like just what's happening in pop culture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have to know what's happening so that we can report about it.
For
And
sure.
then the next week we're like, "Fuck, what did we talk about last week?"
Yeah.
Shit, it was this, and like it's kind of probably similar to like a DJing where you like
The cycle is
you
so
love
fast.
this topic, you
Yeah.
love this music, you love what's happening, but then next week everything's changed.
Yeah.
And that's just part of like the internet culture that we live
Yeah.
in is
Yeah.
that everything is so the clicks and the
Yeah.
and the trending is just so fucking fluid and fickle.
But one thing that was definitely pretty big this year was the kind of like explosion of Afrobeat.
For
and,
sure.
And,
I'd say
and
Lizzo, right?
reggaeton made like a huge
Yeah.
kind of like resurgence again.
Yeah, world music.
yeah, world music
Like
in
it
general,
definitely
but,
like the Afro hip. Like there's just like the perfect way to explain it is if we're Beyonce fans, but the Gift.
Yeah.
That is kind of shows you the impact
Right.
that reggaeton had. That it's like, okay, here's the Latin version, but also here's the African version.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And how that it has influenced music all.
and how great that they sound so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like some real similar rhythms.
Yeah.
And now, I don't even know if you guys have been noticing, but there's a bunch of the Afrobeat artists are now collaborating with a lot of the reggaeton artists. Like there's this song with J Balvin and who was it, Burna Boy or somebody?
Burna Boy.
I
I
can't.
think
Yeah.
it is.
No, I
Burna
don't
Boy.
think it's. I don't remember anyway. But
I know. I definitely have
there's
seen
this one
a lot
song
of
called
Burna Boy
"Como un
recently.
Bebé," and like the beat is fire. So
Yeah.
you should check that one out.
Yeah.
That one's really good. But
Yeah, I mean that definitely was for sure.
Don't you think like 2019 belongs to Lizzo as far as like a pop sensation?
For breakthrough,
Sure,
yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Like she
Yeah.
just came out.
I'd
like,
argue though
The
that
controversy. I said her album was number 2 on like my list of albums.
Yeah.
and people were like, number 2 of all the albums. I'm like, listen, it's my list.
yeah.
what was your number one?
The Gift.
Okay.
I love The Gift.
Really?
I thought The
It
It
Gift
didn't get that
was-
well received. I liked it too,
No.
but
It
Oh,
was. It
what
was.
was my number
It was
one?
tepid.
I was
the
not blessed with the
response.
gift. I didn't even know it existed.
it was inspired by the Lion King movie,
Yes.
Okay.
the remake, the live action Lion King. But it was like primarily like an Afrobeat
African
kind of
Yeah.
album.
Yeah.
you
They
know?
were like,
To
"Hey,
check for it.
Beyonce, we want you to curate this album,
Right.
and
So
you
she-
get to choose all the artists who are going to be on it, and it's
Right.
not just you."
Right.
And she's on most of the songs.
She's on some of the
but,
songs for sure. yeah.
Then there are some songs that she's not on at all.
can't
But they're all Afrobeat.
So she has some
Remember my
humility.
number one.
She has some.
I think my number one might have been Snow Allegra. These feelings.
Your number
again.
one was Snow Allegra.
Yeah,
Is it
like
that good?
she. I'm telling you, it's
Yes, that's
she's.
What about
she's-
Snow the product? You fuck with her? She's filthy.
She is
Snow
filthy.
Allegra?
She is
I would
filthy.
say she's.
Oh, is this
someone,
like a rapper or?
Yeah.
Snow the product?
Oh,
Oh,
I
okay.
was like,
Yeah.
I was like, Snow
Oh
the
no, no,
product.
it's
I
real.
thought you meant.
Oh,
Okay.
no, no,
like Snow.
this is
Okay.
oh, you don't know her?
I was not
No.
talking about the
Not
the
Not
powder.
that shit.
No,
Okay.
when I saw your eyes, I was like, "Oh no, he's being serious."
No,
I mean, sometimes I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. Sometimes
you know, with
She's
hip hop, we have to like.
Snow
it's a
the
learning
product is a
curve.
really
Yeah.
dope, tight
She's
rapper.
tight.
Check her
Okay.
out.
She's a Chicana American girl who
That's true.
I think she's was she on Tech Nine's label or was she just did a song with him?
she probably just did a sign with him.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's an indie artist, but she's
Okay.
like she's definitely like blowing up.
Bars.
She really spits like as
Yeah.
far as an
She's
MC.
I love
pretty
that.
hot
And
too.
Yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
she's hot. Yeah, she was definitely like straight for a long time, but now she's with a woman, and yeah, but she's
Sexual, it's fluid.
just so she's out here. She's
like
doing her
so
thing.
many
She's blowing
female
up
rappers.
though. Yeah,
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Snow Allegra was my Snow Allegra. Not,
She definitely
she was
was.
my favorite. So
Yeah, and you brought me along on that journey because at first I was like, ugh. another beige person singing black music.
Well, she's interesting because she's
Okay,
Armenian. She's
sure.
Armenian.
Oh, okay. Because I
Is she
didn't think
Armenian?
she was black.
But she's from
definitely
Sweden.
not black.
Yeah. She's what?
Yeah.
So she
from
grew
Sweden?
up in
Yeah.
Sweden.
Oh, interesting.
But her family is Armenian.
Okay.
And she was a
And
Prince protege.
People always ask her like, and she has an accent, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Where are you from?" And they're
Yeah.
like, well, "You're not. You're from Sweden because
Yeah.
like she's not blonde. She's
Right.
not blue eyes."
That's what everybody thinks of Sweden, but Sweden is
Yeah.
super diverse.
Yeah.
Just so
Right.
you know. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that like her album is definitely dyed in the wool R&B.
Okay.
And once I actually gave it a chance, I was like, okay, this is kind
actually
of
pretty
Her
good.
voice
amazing.
is fucking amazing.
She does have an amazing voice. I was like, oh, and then when we watched the interview and she's like, oh, Prince this and Prince that. And
Yeah.
I went and had pancakes with him or whatever she was saying. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is weird though, because Prince like definitely had some proteges that were like obviously beautiful, but made some weird music that wasn't.
Yeah.
But also, if you look at the proteges of Prince, they're all
He has a
of a
type.
certain kind.
He
Oh,
has a
yeah,
type.
he has a
Although
type.
Liv Warfield's another person that I want to
She's
shout out.
out.
Liv Warfield.
Shout out Tevin Campbell.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, also another kind, the same kind. But Liv Warfield's brown. She sings rock soul. If you like Let Us See You Like Rock, you like soul. Like she's someone to look into, and she actually has a connection to Pacific Northwest. She'll be here, I think, in February.
Say her name again.
Liv
Liv
Warfield.
Tight. I'll check it
Yeah,
out.
Very good.
she's her album, The Unexpected, was the one that Prince produced, and it's fucking amazing. Like it just got.
I want to read
Lot
that.
of
book. I
horns.
want to read that book.
It's
Yeah.
very good.
What book?
They're put. I don't know if it's out
Prince
yet.
book?
Prince book. Yeah.
Oh, or who's
Prince
writing
book.
it?
I don't know.
Who's writing the book?
It's written by him, but it's being.
Oh, really?
It's being.
Oh.
It was a
So
semi.
he was like doing it.
He was doing it and then he passed,
Oh.
and so I just heard something recently where he was like, I guess, speaking ill of Ed Sheeran and Katy Perry.
Oh,
Yikes.
as he
Oh.
should.
Shade.
I hate Katy
Oh,
Perry.
not like Elton
I
John.
strongly
Elton John talks ill of everyone. Fucking
I don't
Queen.
like this.
He's always like, oh, you know.
I got
they're
to see
not
him. I got to
talented.
see him when he came to the Tacoma Dome.
Was it
this
good?
year. It was.
I'm sure it was good.
It was bananas.
It's
I
Elton
don't
John.
like Katy Perry because she appropriates culture. I don't like Ed Sheeran because he says all of his influencer are white men, but all of his music
does?
collaborates. All of his
a lie.
emails, he has said that white men have been his influences, but then you look at all of his collaborators, they're of color.
He
So
isn't the
it
only
really bothers me
He's
when
clearly-
you're not,
Well, and Canadian. He did that song
And
with
can-
Bieber.
yeah.
He's very much the male Taylor Swift.
Ugh.
Ed Sheeran's definitely
Mailer
and they're
Swift?
friends.
Mailer
He's
Swift.
the Mailer Swift. Totally. And I was like, ever since I read this article where he was like,
Mailer Swift.
he's like, yeah, I just want to be the biggest pop star ever. And I was like,
That's exactly how he said it.
I'm
too.
like, that's such a weird goal in my mind for someone like him because he's like this accomplished musician.
Yeah, he's a good
So and
musician.
it's like, but
Well, I liked him at first too
He makes
because he
good
kind
songs,
of he
too,
kind of
like-
spit too. I was like, I want Ed Sheeran to put his rap album out, but it's not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen.
Guys, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to wrap this up. I know.
Clearly, I mean-
we could talk about stuff for a long time.
I know,
Obviously, mean,
clearly.
we could keep going. Joe
We-
definitely can always keep going.
I know.
But
It's
all we like
Lamb
about him.
Bowser.
caught up.
He said sorry, not sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Well, we want to thank you for having us. I think that it
Yes.
was. I feel like it was a good conversation.
It was
Yeah,
a great
it was a
Hopefully,
great
our
conversation.
listeners do.
It was
I know.
two great conversations.
Well, we didn't even get to like really touch on like the Givenchy sneaks, your amazing glasses.
I'm
Like
just
you know,
trying
we'll
to
have
be
to
fancy.
we'll have to
AF,
save
like,
that for
oh,
next time.
for sure.
We try.
Yeah. Well, what you guys got? You guys have your next shuffle and repeat party
Yeah.
coming up, right?
So our next party is at Chop Suey on Sunday, the 19th of January.
Okay.
The party is called Shuffle and Repeat. It's a throwback dance party, 90s, 2000s, hip hop, R&B all night.
Okay.
We are very intentional about who we hire. So we hired Stas, the boss, DJing, and Queen Cash. They both are from the collective Sway and Swoon.
Yeah.
Supporting female women of color and obviously the genre that matters.
Yes,
The
female women.
genres that mattered. 90s, 2000.
Yeah.
What? Female women? Clearly,
Female women of color.
I only have had one drink.
And we also strategically have been planning these parties the day before a holiday. So hopefully a lot of you have MLK Day off.
And if you don't, get off the next day
take
because
it
then you should
off.
volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. They should.
Yeah, because you should dance off, dance all night, wake up, vocal volunteer, and then you'll be good.
Hungover. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
But if you don't come to our party, that's totally fine. We'll have others.
Yeah.
But you can join the party every week by streaming us at He Said Pod on all streaming services. We also are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, You can follow me at _JSaid_ and Ray at _RaySaid_.
Real easy.
Slide in
Very
our
on brand.
DMs and
Yeah.
we'll respond. And if we don't, it's because I'm in punishment.
Nice.
No, it's true. They do. I slid in there. They respond.
That was an interesting slide too, when it's like two people on one account, like
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
back and forth.
You're
And
like, wait,
oh yeah,
who
this
am
is
I
me, by the way. Oh, this is me.
It's like, I don't know if he's available, but
Yeah.
I'll let you know. It's like, shit.
I'm available. I saw it too. All right. Well, yeah, man. Thank you guys for coming through. It was
Thank you for
fun
having
doing
me.
this.
Anytime.
this,
Oh, and don't forget, like, although this came out, this comes out in the future. You can
Yes.
go back. There's a episode. Their first episode of 2020 does feature us.
Yes.
And I believe I titled it.
Yeah.
You did.
What is it called, dear?
Hold, don't clench.
Yeah. And if anyone was wondering that, yes, that is Joe in the picture. You're welcome.
The
He's
IG picture
extremely
is what he's talking about.
flexible.
Nice.
If you're questioning what it is, just follow us and you'll see.
I was listening to Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
and-
Splits on the front line.
Yeah. Okay, we're definitely gonna. Yeah, we're wrapping this up, but I feel like there's just gonna be more stuff happening between the four of us in the future. So
yes.
we'll have to
Yeah.
Put that out there.
make some more things happen.
Yes,
For sure.
indeed.
Potter and family.
Nice. All right. Well, for the biggest podcast, myself, Miguel Rockwell, Hawkins Bird,
That's me.
Ray, and Jay from He Said, He Said. Thank you guys for coming through.
Yes.
All right, and we out of here. See ya.
It's the biggest.